Greetings, peace, everyone, and thank you. You are definitely at the right spot today. I want to thank everyone for coming in and joining us. This is going to be a great topic. Today, we're going to talk about Juneteenth and the significance of it and what it means to our community and why people, so many, and now people starting to get into the celebration of it. Before I get started, I got to thank some people that without them, this would not have happened. First, I want to thank Attorney Carl Price with Conscious Fever, Ice Entertainment Radio. That brother on that studio, he's doing some awesome work. Sometimes you see me there also. And then brother Joe Tapper with the Tipping Point Morning Show on LOU here in Louisville, Kentucky, and on Facebook. He is the host. And I myself am the co-host of that podcast. Love it every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And the brother Frank Stoner with Health Daddy Wild. If you are in Louisville, Kentucky, and you need some herbs, some teas, whatever, go see that brother. He's about trying to get your health right. My brother Kyrie Muhammad with Incredible. You need artwork done, that's the guy you want to go to. He is the guy that actually helps me out a lot in my flyers and everything. Also, Sayatil Emmanuel, aka Phyllis Myers with Body Energy Work. You need your body worked on. Trust me, she's the one here in Louisville you want to go to. And my brother and teacher, Dr. Akmal Moakil with Healing Art Studio. You can also find him on his website at healingart.net. So what we're going to be talking about here is Juneteenth and the significance of Juneteenth and why are we into the celebration of it. Well, let me give you a little bit of history first about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is about the freedom of the slaves. And before I get into that conversation of who we're talking about, whether someone is confused about calling them Black or Africans, I understand. I want to refer to them as our ancestors so that everybody is on the same playing field when we're talking about our ancestors who was enslaved. Okay, so what is Juneteenth? Juneteenth was on June 19th when the slaves were actually free altogether. But however, during 1863. Lincoln actually signed the bill to free the slaves. However, Lincoln wasn't doing that because he loved our ancestors. He had slaves himself. He did it because it was in the middle of a civil war that was going on, right? And so there was this big fear going on that actually slaves was going to uprise, which was true. But all the slaves was not free. In fact, 2.5 years later, at 1865, in June 19th, was when all the slaves were free. Now, what has that? Because they were lacking information. Now, the slave owners knew about it because even some of the slave owners hid their slaves in Texas, right, to keep them from the information. Can you imagine if all the slaves knew they were free, right? So then after the Civil War in the Union, General Gordon Granger actually went down south to announce to everyone, even the slave owners, that they had to release the slaves and make them free. Now, this was kind of a juggle because can you imagine the mixed reaction? There was some celebrating, and there were some slaves did not know what to do next. Remember now, a lot of slaves, they were born into slavery. So they didn't have a clue what that meant for freedom. Some slaves understood it and in fact began to group together. And that's when sharecropping came about to where now, since they was on the land, they didn't have nowhere else to go. They began to share the land with the owner to share the crop that they were growing. So basically, Juneteenth is nothing new. It's been celebrated for hundreds of years, ever since then. In fact, that and some modern people kept it alive, people kept it going, and it got overshadowed with 4th of July, right? So a lot of people weren't into the celebration of Juneteenth until later. And then it started popping up more. Now you're seeing more events happening. Now you may see it in public school books now, because it's now becoming a big thing. So one of the things I wanted to do, because I'm not a person that likes to even harp on and talk a lot about slavery, because why is there's a program there that actually keeps you bondage in a sense by so much of the information that it stops you from growing. So what I wanted to do was bring a good team of healers together to talk about how do we heal. Because see, there's something going on as why we're still in this condition. We're going to discuss that and how do we heal from here and where do we go from here? Because other than that, it's just going to be a continuous celebration. And for us as a whole, we get nowhere. We don't get the wealth that we want. We don't get the opportunities that are out there for us because we continue. So we want to talk about how do we heal from here? And that's most important, because it is a fact. We got some healing to do because of the trauma that our people has been going through since we've been in this country, and the trauma has not stopped. So we want to talk about how do we heal. So I want to bring in this awesome panel that I got for you, and we are going to get into this discussion, and hopefully we'll find a solution. Welcome everyone inside the room. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Wonderful. Lafia.
Lafia and the H.
Darani.
Okay.
I'm so happy that we are having this discussion.
Oh, yes, I am too. And I thank everyone for coming in, and definitely, hold up, am I missing someone? No. So, and definitely, I hope that we really get to build from this conversation, because this is what it's about. How do we build? How do we build from it economically? And how do we find a way that we're going to heal? Okay. So one of the things I want to open up is allow each of y'all to introduce yourself and what is it that you do and your connection to the events that are coming up. You want to start with Sister Angela, Sister Lucrece, Dr. Lucrece.
Hi, yes, my name is Dr. Lucrece Kidd, and I am an associate professor at the University of Louisville in the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, with a joint appointment with the Cancer Center. Professionally, I engage in cancer research with a focus on trying to understand how genetics plays a role in prostate cancer and helps to explain why African American men in particular suffer disproportionately from the disease compared to their white counterparts. And I also co-direct a summer program to help motivate the next generation of cancer researchers to pursue careers in this field. What's my connection with Juneteenth? To be honest, it was, I think, maybe in 2014 when I was first exposed to Juneteenth, as a celebration. Fast forward until today, I was really wanting to do something for Juneteenth to celebrate our ancestors. And so I'm collaborating with the Shawnee Friends of the Library and for a Juneteenth event called Reclaiming Our African Roots, where we can learn about family trees and genetic testing as tools to connect with our West African ancestry.
Absolutely great. And I definitely want to come back to you later about prostate and the increase of prostate cancer amongst our brothers. Sister Sango, did I say that right? Sango.
It's Iya Shango Ronke. It's a priest of Shango Kabisi Kawo, who is instrumental still in being the guardian of our culture. Because as some of you might know, through the Mafa, we were also within the West African community, the dynasties as well as the kingdoms, because we weren't known as countries, because that was a very European construct. We were kingdoms and, of course, dynasties, etc. The last Alafin of Shango Kabasi Kawo was instrumental in holding back the colonizers from taking our people captives, kidnapped, as well as brought to a country unknown to them called the America. And America was the last major stronghold of colonialism when it came to the Mafa, the slavery of our people, which is definitely connected to a spiritual warfare. So, as a keeper of culture, I wear several hats, including sharing my message in collaboration with other organizations, including the Friends of the Library. I'm one of the sponsors. With Dr. Lacrease Kidd, we have done many programs, including my Kwanzaa programs, and definitely sharing that information of culture and the importance of connecting to our roots through our ancestors, because they're well and alive.
Sister Mama Ya, how you doing? You can you hear me?
Would that be Mama Yoga?
Mama Yoga, I'm sorry.
Mama Ya, that might be coming soon.
Look out now.
Brought to you by an emerging culture. Stay tuned. Mama Ya. Peace and love, everybody. I'm so honored to be amongst such great, spirit and ancestral-led company. I am Samut A. Scott. My company is Mama Yoga Wellness, which was born out of 30 years of initiation as an Osirian priestess, studying with the Osiris Society out of Philadelphia under Dr. Ra Nefer Amen, all principles, ancient African metaphysics, and the like. And at this point in my life, Ashe, at this point in my life, I am an Akan Ashanti priestess, Ashanti Akan Queen Mother of the Ayoko family out of the Ashanti Victory Town in Philadelphia. And those are my major cultural monarchies. Because we have to be tied to our ancestry, and you can't just go about your life's work without the ancestors opening and, in fact, leading and whispering to you about those paths. To bring to the point and the question and how my life's work fits into how do we heal from here, Mama Yoga's Wellness Coaching is a full-service healing agency that provides instrumental instruction in meditation and mindfulness, yoga, and overall well-being and nutrition unapologetically for our community. And so we have been contracted and vended with the school districts up and down the Northeast and, corporations and alike, wherever our community can receive the message of the foundational skills that help you even shift your paradigm toward healing. And so today I am representing my partnership with the African American Cultural Collaborative of Mercer County, who has spearheaded this most magnanimous and huge Juneteenth event in Trenton, New Jersey, which is going to take place over 3 days, literally hundreds of organizations and collaboratives, including Black Cowboys and Black Cowgirls. And we can go into detail about that. But I just wanted to say that, I'm here. Mama Yoga's Wellness has shared the healthy living experience of this 3-day event.
Oh, wow. Powerful. That's powerful.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
It is.
Sister Layla Hampton.
Peace and love, everybody.
Peace.
Well, for those of you that can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. For those of you that don't know, I am the founder and executive director of Liberated Minds, Homeschool Academy, formerly Kaumba Youth Liberation Academy. And we have always ended on Juneteenth. And this is how I tie in. And I started my school in 2013. So we always started after Labor Day, and Juneteenth was always our last day. And when I first started celebrating Juneteenth, I spent most of my time educating because then no one had ever heard of Juneteenth. Like you said, it because of July, the 4th of July. Many of us never even knew about Juneteenth. And a lot of it is because of us being taught his story instead of our story. And that is the reason why I started my school. In Kentucky, homeschools are private schools. So I am the owner of a private school. We need many, many, many more. And like the Queen Mother said, I'm unapologetic with it. So we're not having a celebration this year. I decided to end my school year early because of the whole COVID-19 situation. It was just best for me to bow out and end. I ended this year when the public schools ended. But I will say that when I started my school, I was sponsored by MEET, More Education and Enrichment Training. And this year, he's having his annual Knowledge Fest 2021. Even though I'm no longer affiliated with that organization, I'm really proud to see him continuing that tradition. Because what I like about that organization is because not only they call it edutainment, it's education and it's entertainment. Because as you know, everybody wants to be entertained. So you gotta, bring some entertainment with it. So that's pretty much my connection to Juneteenth, family.
Great. Before I go any further, will someone have another window open that because I'm hearing an echo? Is there another window open on your computer? Maybe into the side of the sharing or something? No one has another window open? Okay. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Is my face supposed to be right there?
Yeah,
Yeah, your face.
I was going to ask the same question because I got another window, but it's a little thing off to the side. Is that right?
Yeah, it's okay. You're right. Everything is right. But if you may have the sound on in another window that's echoing back. So if you got another window open, just make sure the sound is off in that.
I mean, okay. Lord have mercy. Not only do we got to rescue our community, we got to learn all of this stuff. I mean, really. Well, it's a good thing we built for it, ladies and brothers on here.
Good. Brother Dr. Akmal.
Well, good evening to the ladies and yourself, John, and the audience that's listening to us. My background in Juneteenth started. I heard about it, maybe some 30, 40 years ago. And it was like a whisper, when I was working in the community in Massachusetts, and it was a whisper, but nobody really done anything about it. And so over the last years, I got more involved in either going to a celebration or something of that nature. And so this year, I'll be the keynote speaker at the celebration with Mama Yoga, and my topic is on post-COVID-19, so that we continue the healing and the healing from our ancestors, which has to really deal with the factor of and and the sister who talked about the prostate cancer, which has to deal with with our ancestors and how we can heal, from that. We have to, from the side of the table that I sit on, we have to have an understanding of that balance, and how we balance the ancestralhood that we have, which is in our DNA, which is lodged in our bones, uh, and how we project that in our daily life, along with teaching it to our children, so that the future generation can move forward. We're in a process of where we have a generation now that, we're looking at and working to figure out how we can actually put them back on the road, because the Europeans have taken them off the road. And so, as as we work within the compounds of that, we have to, from the side of the table I'm looking at, we have to always talk about healing, and that healing goes back to my ancestors, where the things that we did 70 years ago, and I can only speak for myself, the things that we did 70 years ago, we have to go back to that. Growing up in the 50s, we were a community. We were neighbors. If I did something down the road, by the time I got home, I done had 4 or 5 spankings. Okay. And then when we started mixing with the Europeans, matter of fact, I read a study where our ancestors didn't really get sick until we moved off the farms. Okay. And so when we start looking at that, we look at the fact that now we have to go back and begin to work to rebuild what it is that our ancestors built. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Real, let's be real about that. We had it. Okay. And they came and they did what they do. They steal. And so
and destroy.
And destroy. And so, we got to understand the patty rollers, who now the police. They just changed the name from patty rollers to police. So, my contribution to life is to be able to help our people grow, help our people heal, and help our people understand how we can heal, so that we can move forward as a set of people, opposed to being divided as we are.
It's interesting, and when you do the research, and you mentioned about Tulsa, actually after slavery, our people, our ancestors, found their way all over the country to pull themselves together, and they began to, without any help from anyone, they began to build cities, they began to build towns, they began to build schools and businesses and banks. Now, I always would say, well, who are they? What type of people were they, and how they built, and why is it that we can't do it today? And it's very interesting, because at that point, there was no such thing as racism. The word racism didn't exist then. They didn't have that concept. What they saw was, they saw mental illness in the people that they didn't want nothing to do with. They wanted to build their own, and they wanted to be away from the conditions that they were in. And what I found later was that there were hundreds of massacres and people killed and lynched over the years, that even during that time, all the way up until Jim Crow, and it didn't stop there. Then you had another realm where it was called another slavery, where they were locking people up based on just because they didn't have ID or an identity, or they was just roaming, crossing the country, and they were being locked up, put in jail, and then put back
into the plantation.
What this seemed to me was, when you look at that and you look at this stress hormone, the stress hormone, cortisone. When someone
Cortisone.
has a stress hormone, they're not allowed to think. They're not allowed to build. You're not allowed to have anything, any love or any settlement. So this stress hormones always keep you at odds, always keep you running. And but when you notice the people that got from slavery, they were able to settle down and create, right? And then after that, they will continue to have to run, hide. And when I talk to someone about be rebuilding Black Wall Street, rebuilding ourselves, I always hear in back of the subconscious, well, they'll take it from us. Well, they'll do it again. And that becomes the blockage in our own subconscious. So in a sense, is this why we're still in this condition and why our people can't in a whole? Now, some of us come up, some of us are able to come up and get through this. But in a whole, the majority, we have so much against us, whether it is the food that we're eating, the drugs, the discrimination, and even to the point to where now we are assassinating or killing ourselves. So when I use the word healing, it's a broad perspective of how do we heal from here. So what do y'all think of the concept of that understanding coming from that dynamics of being able to build and why we can't do that today? Anyone?
Remember, first and foremost, we are spiritual beings having a physical reality. With that said, we are under siege. We are in spiritual warfare. We are in a place where we have been here by design, programmed to think, act, as well as worship based on another being's interpretation, as well as greed to dominate and have power over us. So therefore, we have to understand we need to go back. Sankofa, go back, fetch that was lost. Bring it forward so we could traject a new path where man has never gone before in this construct, using our ancestors' tools and resources, and first and foremost, spiritual belief system in connecting everything. And that's what my organization is all about. Give is all about connecting us to our holistic path of connecting in a circular fashion as opposed to a linear fashion, based on the very construct of this country was based on what? The land, the soil, connecting with the earth, connecting with the air, water, and all the elemental forces that Mother Divine God Creator has given us. And we know it by many names, including Allah, Jehovah, Elohim,
That's right.
and within our construct, Olodumare. So therefore, understanding that the Mother, Father, Divine Creator has given us everything we need. And we are able to realize that if we go back and fetch that what was lost and understand the programming, including this very pandemic that we have found ourselves in, and how to go back to the land, create our own food, get off the grid, our own solar energy, including creating careers and professions that enable us to not just give a man a fish, but teach him how to catch that fish so he's able to rebuild first his mind, body, and spirit through understanding that we are pure energy connecting to the elemental forces with our ancestors behind us who showed us we stand on to help us elevate, not just survive, because I'm not into surviving. I'm into thriving.
Ashe. 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 So I kind of wanted to I mean, you know, the spirit is moving and speaking, you know, because that's the time frame that we're in within the context of what I teach. We all have our gifts and our assignments. And, you know, as long as you walk in your gift and your assignment, we'll all meet in the middle in terms of who God, who the universe, whose spirit our ancestors send to our respective paths to heal. Right? the deal, the real jewel is to lean into your assignment. If nothing else around you matters, what are you called to do? Because you have a piece of that puzzle. And so
That's right.
when you speak about and the question around race and our people having the mentality of or functioning from the perspective of, well, if we try to build it, they're going to just take it, right? First,
We ain't giving them that power.
First, we should understand Dr. Claude Anderson chronicled in his book, Powernomics, that race was a construct by the European nations in the 1800s to say that, listen, we're going to divide up the world amongst this European agreement, this European fraternity, and it's a race to get to the most resources. So we are not a race, we're in a race. But we're sleeping on the fact that we're in a race. The race is for the resources of the planet.
Of the planet.
We're not a race. That's why everybody that comes to this country or any other industrialized Western country comes to our community, because the perception is, and the covert understanding is, don't let the Black folks have nothing, because the truth is they steward, they were given all of this. We are all visitors. So we got to keep them asleep to help them understand that they don't realize that we're actually all in a race, and it's for the resources of the planet. I also like to teach piggybacking on, veggie backing, as some people say in these cultural communities, on what my sister was saying. The last frontier that we are in a battle for is the spirit and the spiritual consciousness of the people. Our spiritual consciousness is and has always delivered us from the depths of degradation and hell during our captivity and the rest of it. It gives us our ingenuity. It's that black dot, that pineal gland in the middle of the hypothalamus, thyroid, pituitary axis that allows us to tap into spirit. And so when we hear our people saying, we can't do it because they'll take it, our major problem is we're stuck in victimhood. I gave a talk on my Instagram when I heard Monique, the comedian, give. She was on Kevin Hart's podcast, and it's been 11 years since she's been blackballed by Hollywood, but she's still saying what, who, where, didn't do, and why she can't get a job, and they hate her, and she can't do nothing. And I was listening for the solve. I was listening for the healing. But that's a microcosm of the victimhood that our people are in. So to wrap it up, because we have other dynamic, beautiful minds here, I don't want to take too much space. To wrap it up, if I do my part, if I'm obedient to what Spirit has given to me to offer, and you're obedient, and so on and so forth, that's the healing. You can only heal who will take the bread, because the medicine is in the bread. The healing is in the message. The healing is in the assignment that each of us have. And our job is not to heal everybody, but to first be obedient and align with our message, and then nourish whoever divine source sends to our path. And I think that's the way that we can do it. That's the only reasonable way.
I'd like to add something to that. Like, I had 2 male friends reach out to me literally within the same time frame, and they said to me, thank you. Thank you for seeing greatness in me and encouraging me to go to school, go to college, encouraging me to get a house. And these people, I think originally, they were not ready. it's important that we take time out of our busy schedules and pull someone else up. And sometimes you literally have to pull people up. You have to keep planting the seeds over and over and over and over again. And that seed may not flourish in the time frame that you think it should flourish.
Come on, sister. Come on.
But rest assured, if you have good intent, and it is, that person will eventually open themselves up when they are ready. Like that seed, I promise you, it will germinate.
Absolutely.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is the key that we are all plants
Not
that
necessarily.
have germinated from the seed that has come about through our experience, our journey in life. So it might not sprout at that time, but in actuality, it truly is. It's germinating, it's marinating, sucking up those nutrients that it has been able to be planted in. And in its time, the Creator will bring it forth.
Sister Lucretia, was you finished?
Not really, but I guess the only thing that I will say, like that expression, when someone is ready, the teacher will appear. So that's one way of looking at it. But we have sleepers out there, honey. We have people who are walking around almost like zombies. They are content with almost nothingness. And so we do have to speak to their spirit. We have to pray for them in the darkness. And we have to just, we have to keep showing up so that we can lead by example.
Sister Layla?
And that's that seed
so that
you refer to.
We can wake some people up and get them on a better path.
And that's where the watering and cultivating comes into play.
And that's really the part that I'm focusing on right now as an educator. Family, the solution is the children. At the end of the day, most of us adults have already been programmed. We are content and we don't want to change.
Right.
And that is basically why we have remained stagnant, and we will remain stagnant because we need the youth to come in. You cannot have a revolution without the youth, because most of us don't even know that we are at war. And as you said again, it is a spiritual, it's spiritual. What's going on in the cosmos, and it's playing out right here and right now. And our babies don't know that. Our babies don't know because who's teaching them?
Right.
Who's teaching your babies? And to me, and I'm also a student of Dr. Claude Anderson, and he has 5 platforms. Number 1 is economics, but number 5 is education.
Come on.
So you want to talk about opening businesses? What we need to open up first is a school. Number 1, where we can teach our ancestral ways, because that's the problem, family.
That is the foundation right there.
Period.
In his book, Chancellor Williams, in the front of his book, he talked about, he asked the traveler, he said, do you know the civilization of Sumer? And the traveler said, no. He said, they lost their history and they died.
Okay, now.
Okay. And so, we have to understand, first off, we have to understand the European. The European is afraid, not of our physicality, but our spirituality.
That's
why That's why they separated us in the manner that they did when they brought our ancestors over on ships. Our communication of the drum, no matter where you was from on the continent, that drum represented the spirituality. During slavery, the slaves would go off into the woods and they would begin to practice their spirituality to maintain the balance of their communities. See, that's why that European Willie Lynch, who has down in Virginia, he got a whole city named after him, Lynchburg. Okay, Willie Lynch told them, he said, keep them in fear and you can control them.
That's right.
And they've done that all of our lives. Like when we began to get that power back in the 60s, what did they do? We had the Black Panthers. That's where the breakfast program came from for the children. Now let's talk about it. You see, now the school using it. Okay.
To this day.
To this day, there was an acupuncture program that they were using to maintain the healing of our people. Okay, which was called community. Now the Europeans is using the community acupuncture program. So we have to kind of understand the fact that that we have to plant them seeds in them children. Okay, so that they begin to look at the fact that they are kings and queens, you know, and they ain't bums and derelicts and all of this. And we have to and we have to kind of get them to understand the fact that we can succeed at anything that we do. The only thing that stops us is the limitation of our mind. You see, and so when we start to look at things like Juneteenth, what do we have to do? We have to be able to make sure that the children come and get embraced and receive that understanding and that knowledge that they're not getting in the street, because the knowledge in the street is really what's keeping them in a box.
Because by design.
Right, and it was. I mean, look at the 60s. When we started talking about Black and Proud, they came in with drugs, white women, and money. Okay, I mean, Model Cities program. There's only one Model Cities program that now is in existence, and I think it's still in existence, which was called OIC. Okay, by Dr. Sullivan. But the rest of them, they dropped all that money in the community, and the next thing we know is that the projects that were supposed to be happening disappeared. And so in the 70s, we got lost, you see. And so now we're trying to figure out where we are. If we as a people begin to just stop, and start to understand who we are. You know, one of the programs I do is healing from other people's stuff. And within the context of that, there's a question that I ask. And the question is this: how many people live inside of you? Who are they? What is their attributes? See, because when you start to look at yourself, you can't be criticizing anybody else, because you're now putting that structure together. And that's the piece that we got to do. We got to work as people who are a community and and not a neighborhood, because a neighborhood and a community are different, and we got to understand that. The community is that I got an aunt down the street. She ain't my mother's sister. She ain't my father's sister, but she's on air because of the fact of the connection that she has within the community to help me to continue to grow. You know, and this time out stuff that these Europeans have done, you know, listen, when I came up, you know, I got slapped away from the table a couple of times, you know what I mean? And call who? You better not call nobody, but sit there and do what you told.
You know, that's why go ahead.
I wanted to share to the sisters' point. First, I want to say throughout human history, there has never really been thousands and millions of people living as one community. Even amongst, our African nations, there are respective conclaves of families known as quote unquote tribes, right? Which
That's
to
right.
me, that's what time it is, right?
Right.
So you don't
Absolutely.
succeed in multitudes like
Absolutely.
that. You
Right.
find your vibrational match, again, going back to your assignment and what the creator wants you to do, and those who are attracted to that assignment, that is where you start the healing process, right? But this Western, utopian drug, we live here, this place we live called America and other Western civilizations, are like the Pinocchio thing where he came, the Pied Piper came and blew the thing and took all the children away. It's like that here. We're under this illusion, the ultimate matrix, thinking that you're supposed to have thousands and thousands of people. No, anything, even if you look at corporations, the most successful corporations are really steered from a small body of people called the board.
That's right.
That are making the success. And so
Their mastermind control board.
So it is amongst our community. You find your tribe and nourish your tribe. And to that end, when we talk about educating our children, I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who over the last 15 years has fought the local school boards in my neighborhood to include yoga and mindfulness and diet and nutrition practices in our city, in our urban centers, right? We can teach the children, but if that child doesn't go home to a wraparound, reinforced perspective of what they learned, of course the seed is planted,
right?
But now they got to negotiate the gangs and the misdirected adults and the abuse and all of that. So what came to my spirit was to do my best. Yes, have the curriculum, and it's a full curriculum, Mama Yoga Wellness, for the children. But then I had to begin to do parental engagement.
Teach the parents.
Right. And not every parent could manage it. Those
Right.
that came were the ones that God can do the most work with. And that's the way you have to look at it, because otherwise it's too big. The problem is too massive, and we are not slaves. We were captive Africans.
That's right.
Captive
Thank you.
Who are still at war. We've just been, bludgeoned in our psyche with drugs and all of these electromagnetic disturbances and, World Star and the rest of this. So we're at war. So we can't look at the whole picture because it's too overwhelming. We have to segment to our tribe that is attached to your specific assignment.
Let me.
So how do you eat an elephant?
Well,
Yes, that's right.
Bite by bite.
That's right.
Let me interject and switch gears just a little bit here. Now, we all know and we all agree that the women are the nurturers of our community, and from all elements, from nurturing the children. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this neuroscience. This is one of the things that I'm actually writing about. It's the neuroscience that deals with, like, I remember a writing talking about the Jesuits back in the 1500s says, give me a child until he's 7 and I'll show you the man. And what that meant was when a child is in the womb in its 3rd trimester, it begins to understand, or it begins to pick up 2 things in its subconscious memory. That is mama's voice, and that is mama's feeling. And this is where the program actually begins. So let me give you an example of the psychology behind it. If mama and let's say father was around, the child begins to hear the people voice and begin to understand that that's not mama, there's something on the outside, that it's a more of a masculine voice. Now let's imagine that, and this is the neuroscience part. Imagine that the father called the mother a bitch, and then immediately the child in the womb hears the sound. It doesn't know what it means. It just hears the sound bitch. But the sound made mama either angry or sad.
Right.
So now it continues to happen every time the child hears the word bitch. It's now associated with the feeling, low
emotional
or
attachment.
mad, that becomes attached. The child will come into this world and don't even know why it feels bad when it hears the word bitch. See, this is the beginning of the programming. This is why you can take a child before they're 7 years old and you can teach them multiple languages and everything. It's after 7 they have to begin repetitive to repeat stuff to learn. But from the birth to 7 years old is the critical stage. In fact, neuroscience says that if you look at an adult, 80 to 90% of his behavior was already programmed.
That's right.
Before he was 7 years
That's
old.
right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So now when we're talking about healing, how do we heal that from a mother who's watching foul television, who's watching foul music or listening to foul music or listening to foulness around her while the child is automatically being programmed? But then the child ain't got an opportunity when it comes into the world. It's already programmed to something negative against itself. It is like telling the child you can't be something, or you're no good, or you're bad. And the child's program begins to resonate that. And that's the way it functions. It's no different than the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad that talked about the psychology of poor people. And if you're raising a condition like that, that's what the child becomes. That's why you will see a mother raising a child in the projects, and 80% of them end up being in the projects themselves. So how do you go back to heal from that standpoint of our people? Because what's happening is a condition that continues, and we continue to produce slavery mentality automatically. And when I say slavery mentality, I mean those that not eating right, not thinking right, or not using the ability of their subconscious mind to transform and change their life in mid-condition. And this is something that I learned, and this is something that I am actually writing about, is how my subconscious mind and how I begin to learn how to reprogram my subconscious mind from the filth in order for me to have a different perspective of how I see things and how my life progressed. So I'm injecting, and what I want to talk about, or I want y'all to kind of speak on the part about the subconscious mind in our people, or why the condition continues, and why is it that we can't pull out of it? Is it really, when you hear people talk about manifestation, manifesting, and living the life you want, if that's true, then why can't we all do that?
First of all, we have to understand, going back to the fact, this is a spiritual warfare that we're under. We have to understand that we were intentionally taken away from our foundation of spirituality, including the understanding, first and foremost, that we came out of a rich culture that embraced the duality of Mother, Father, Divine God, and understanding that the whole universal construct started with Olodumare, which represents the owner of the womb that gives birth. So this earth planet is always referred to, as you all know, as the she, because only the she principle could give birth. Why it's so important for us to change the narrative of just looking at she did, he did. We need to go back to our source and understanding why we thrived in the River Nile, why we thrived throughout all the great empires, from Shanghai to Mali to Oyo to the Ghanaian Gold Coast, the Abyssums, all the different deities that we know that still exist, the reason why they still exist is that they were able to tap into the source that gave us the formula, that gave us the program for us to be able to survive and thrive on this planet holistically. So my organization, because I'm not into blame, I'm not into just saying this is the problem, oh well, oh me, what we're going to do about it. I'm into solutions. So I have embarked on that with my life journey. Going back to when I was 18 and I became a vegan vegetarian, I stripped my mind all the way down. I come from a military family. I was born within a military construct. Shango Kabasi Kawo is a general. That name also means Shango Kabasi Kawo came to the earth in fire with war on his head. Saying that, I'm into solutions. Global Interventions is all about educating, giving us a vision and a mission, because that's what I do on my farm. I live this. This is not something I look in a book or I think that based on whatever someone might say that that's the way to go. I'm working out the solutions. I've given people tools, resources, how to live in harmony. First, starting with your mind, your spirit. Changing your mindset is key. Reprogramming the program by eating right. First, you got to stop the pork. You got to stop the beef. You got to stop the sugar. You got to stop all the food that are drugs. Those foods are drugs, not just the heroin, not just the ecstasy, but the food is a drug too. The media is a drug. The social media, as well as the TV programming, they're coming at us 360. So we got to go back at it 360, starting with source, going back to the heavens, because we cannot fight them with brute force.
So wait a minute. So with that,
so it's going back to the village construct.
Right. So with that, what you're saying, because when I come to these functions, I don't hear that. I don't hear about the subconscious mind being programmed. I don't hear people telling, turn off the television, turn off the radio, stop.
You come to my programs and I say that constantly.
Here's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem we have out of anything is our subconscious mind. So actually we are our own
self
as individuals, not outside ourselves. It's really understanding the God self inside ourselves and the ability to alter our thinking. It is inside of the science of epigenetics. You can heal yourself with your mind, right? It takes two things to heal yourself. One, you have to have the right consciousness. Second, you have to have the right environment. Because you can't heal yourself under stress, and you can't heal yourself if you don't believe that you're going to heal. So my point, what I'm trying to talk about is that where's the psychology inside of these functions that we're teaching, and why are we missing the point of that very issue of the psychology behind the subconscious mind? Because I hear it, I don't hear it. I've been to the Kwanzaa, and sister, you always love me to come to speak at your Kwanzaa, and I've always talking about the stuff. I'm not a victim. You're not a victim if you understand the power of your mind. Right. And once you begin to understand that, then you don't do no blaming. You don't point the finger at your condition anymore. Right.
And that's why I always say go within. You start with yourself.
Begin to take.
So that is kind of where I want to see if we have a discussion on the subconscious mind and understanding the power of who we really are inside of what we're teaching at these events or what we're teaching to anyone's around us. If that makes sense.
It does.
Well, one of the things you got to look at is the fact that there's three different minds. There's a conscious, there's a subconscious, and the superconscious. The conscious mind is what we do on a daily basis. That subconscious mind is our training. So whatever we've been trained in always pops up in that subconscious mind. What we have to begin to look at is the fact that how do we move our people from that training to that superconscious mind? Because when you start talking about the superconscious mind, you're talking about spirituality, not religion. Understand? Not religion, but spirituality. And spirituality, when you start to deal with spirituality, sister talked about the pineal gland and it's actually called the ductless gland system. That's where our spirituality comes from. That's why this melanation that we have is so powerful, because of the fact that when that vitamin D hits that and it starts to come in from the heavens, what happens? What happens is that now we can tune into that spiritual portion of us, which is that super conscious mind. So the piece would be, how do we make that shift now? The shift can happen, and it can happen now because of the fact that we're in the age of Aquarius. This is the age of truth. Look at what's happening in the universe. The universe is spitting up on us. Okay, this whole piece about this corona, this is energy, because the universe is saying, listen, this is time for y'all to get your act together. Why do you think we were sequestered for a whole year? We were sequestered for a whole year so we could get into our spirituality, so that we could work inside of that superconscious mind. The deal was that we allowed the liver to take over, which is the ego, and so it eased God out. And as it eased God out, we got pissed off because they told us to wear masks and stay in the house. And so we kind of missed the point. But we got to continue to work on it, and we got to continue to work on it with our children. We got to get the children. We got to get the children to go back into the darkness. What's the darkness? The last thing that most people remember before they came to planet Earth was dark, and it came to the light. Darkness is about that meditation. Darkness is about us going back in, dealing with Egun, our ancestors. Okay, dealing with the universe. See, because the European don't know nothing about the universe. We are universal people. We understand the forest, Ogun. We understand how the flowers grow, because the flowers grow inside of us. Every season, every 120 days, your red blood cells change. Why do they change? They change because the seasons change. The sister talked about eating food. You can eat food today that you ate in the last season, and that same food can be poisoned because of the fact that your body changes, your mind changes on a consistent basis.
Exactly.
So as the organs, the liver has to do with anger. It has to do with jealousy and hatred. Okay, but the heart, which is the summer's element, has to do with love. It has to do with compassion. Okay, with the kidney has to do with kindness. We saw that in the wintertime because that's what that is. So we have to, you're right, we have to deal with them three minds. Which mind are we working with on which day?
Sister Lucrece, you seem to be wanting to chime in on this.
Come on down, sister. Come on down.
I mean, I really can relate to this, like just kind of like going inside of yourself. I don't know, it's just so many things that are just popping in my mind. So let's go back to, when you were talking about like when a woman gets pregnant and then she has a baby, and the things that woman is going through, whether she has to work. I'll take myself for instance. Like when I was in graduate school, I got pregnant like in my last year working toward my doctorate, and I went in knowing that I was going to be or accepting that it was a strong possibility that I was going to be a single mother. And, I remember around that time, even though I remained focused. In fact, I was probably more focused in that year and the year after my daughter was born than I was the other 5 years during my graduate school. But at the same time, especially during that process, especially like the first 5 months, I felt like I was in darkness. I felt like I was ashamed because I didn't fulfill the expectations that I had for myself, and that was to complete school and get married, then have a family. So, for a while, I didn't even talk with my family, because I don't know, it's just a mixture of things. And then I kind of got out of that phase. And then after I had my daughter, I know I suffered from postpartum depression, and that
A lot of
carried
that.
on
Sure.
for at least for a while, let's just say multiple years. And then finally, I did have to get into a spiritual place. And for me at that time, the paradigm was a Baptist Christian church. But I mean, that's what I needed at that particular time. That worked for me. And then I did find that I also, but prior to that, I did take some depression pills. But for me, it wasn't like, oh, I was going to be on them forever. It was really just to kind of knock
Help
the
you cope.
edge off a little bit.
Sure.
And then I was able to, I don't know, just learn how to reconnect, I guess, realign spiritual wise. We do have Father's Day coming up. And I would just like to, just give a shout out to the men who are fathers, even before their children are born. But at the same time, I also would like to challenge our brothers and make sure that they step up to the plate and be fathers while that baby is inside. And once once a mother has that baby, that father needs to be there, be present, be active, participate. And then as that baby grows up until adulthood, and even after that, that father has to be present and an active participant. It can't.
And I agree with you.
I understand that women are nurturers, but brothers have to step up. Period. It's just unacceptable. We can't allow, the things that happened, I don't know, 400 years ago with slavery and how they broke us all apart. I broke up our families, broke up our culture, and all of that. We can't let that continue to perpetuate itself over and over and over. I mean, when is it going to stop?
When we understand that like I said earlier, we're in spiritual warfare, but at the same token, we have to understand there's a multi-complex dynamics that was done by design, starting with the Martha. First of all, when they even came to Africa and they saw how we lived in harmony in nature with each other, one another. But it starts within, going within and connecting with our spiritual path, going back, Sankofa, understanding, first of all, how to be a man. You have to understand the dynamics of what was taken from us as a people. We were deprived. We were stripped of. We were by design alienated from our very self. So a brother doesn't even know how to be himself. His mother was taken and raped in front of him, in front of her man, pretty much beaten down, robbed of our essence, of our true path and spiritual being. And connecting back to that is the key. Where these men, like I have my oldest son and my youngest son, and I will always tell you the thing that I used to tell them, and I raised them as a single mother for a good part of my life until I was married. One of my key factors that I always used to tell my son, and I tell the other young men, only a man could raise a boy to be a man like himself. How do you do that? You don't have to be the sperm donator. You do it by the village, the elders, the council of elders. I got Dr. Akmal that I could go to. I got Yah that I could go to. I got my father I could go to. I got your father that I can go to, including the Boy Scouts or other rites of passage programs that puts my boys through a rites of passage from the time that they're in the womb. And that's why I love my system. And I'm not saying this is the only system. IFA gives us that construct. When we were going through the 60s, one of the aspects that Brother Dr. Ekman mentioned was the Black Panthers with the food program. But we also went back to Black love. We went back into Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, from John, from Brown, from James Brown, all the way to Oyotunji with our Oyotunji and Sheldon that reconstructed the African village based on our African construct. They brought Ifa to the plate. When I went to college in New York, the same thing. When I connected with the Saracens, when I connected with the Five Percenters, with the Kemetic Science, the Nation of Islam, all these pieces of the puzzle, we are working out together. So it's so important for us to learn that we have to go back and fetch what is lost, bring it into this high-tech society, which is still based on our old construct, because Ogun, Shango, Kabasi, Karawo, all those orishas that deal with pure energy are all about this technology. They created it. Computers, the zero and the one cipher was built based on our ancient construct.
Okay, let me get Mama Yoga in this subject here. I'm waiting to hear her response.
So, I mean, the energy just is so passionate. You know, everybody's POV point of view is just, you know, so valuable and helpful
It is.
to our you know, our dynamic. I want to posit another perspective, though, right? We say that, you know, our people are, you know, stuck, and we're in the psychology of where we are is, you know, in a place that is not empowering and uplifting, and on the surface that is what it appears to be, right? But like during the 60s, there was a great awakening, right? During the 60s, there was a metaphysical transformation. That's why you had, you know, white folks' children out there, you know, experiencing all of these, you know, metaphysical, the Woodstocks and this, that, and the other. You had our community, right, with the Black Panther Party and all of the movement for justice and feeding our own and building corporations or companies and feeding and taking care of us, right? There was a metaphysical doorway that opened in the 60s. Here we are at the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012, right? The end of the world, right? Was really the end of an era. So the age of Aquarius actually began to descend in 2011 with its birth in 2012 and its culmination in 2021. So when you look at the field, when I started teaching yoga in the school system in 2009, nobody was teaching yoga to our children and mindfulness and diet and all of that to our children. Now, everybody doing yoga. Everybody and their mama got a downward dog. Everybody has got crystals and, you know, tarot and going to find their African ancestry and what's the juju in that. There is an awakening and a rooting of divine spirit in our people. There's a rumbling. I ain't never seen so many Black women in a downward dog in my life with the leg up in the air and everything. I never. You know, that we ain't gonna talk about the yoga pants because that's a whole nother situation. Some people should not wear yoga pants. I'm just saying. Right? Gotta keep it light. Gotta keep it light. Otherwise, the construct that is submerged on top of our consciousness and our movement looks to be overwhelming. But the reality of it is that divine source and our ancestors are in charge. There's an awakening happening. So instead of focusing on who did what and how they did it and why we can't rise above it, I don't want to talk about the Tulsa, Oklahoma disaster and onslaught. I want to talk about how they built it.
There you go.
That's what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about how somebody took it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how did they build it? How did they do that? And okay, now what can we put in place that can't happen no more? I only want to look at what happened from the perspective of the solve, not from the perspective of Lord, we can't do this because every time we can't have white folks come and take it. That's something.
I'm not gonna give them that power.
How did they do it? What was the connection? What was the love like?
And that's the key right there.
To build
it's all about the love.
Tulsas all over the United States.
Yes.
All over.
Asheo. Right on.
So to me, it's not about the psychological onslaught so much. Only enough to see it and then get busy with the solve. And that's for me, the solve, if I try to look at the whole picture, it's paralyzing.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah. It is. It does what it's designed to do, which you stop you from running the race for the resources of God's planet, of this space that we are on. Right. Mind, body, and energy.
Spirit.
Right?
So, let me ask you.
The spirit. Hold on, let me just finish because it's a stream of consciousness.
Get it out.
Come on with it. Come on with it.
So I only want to see what the problem is for a second, because the problem is full of information to how to solve. Right. And for me, my perspective and what is nourishing, I find to be most helpful is to, when people come to me for readings, spiritual readings, when they come to me for mentoring, when they come to Mama Yoga Wellness and say, teach our children yoga, and they don't realize what I'm doing is dropping them seeds of spiritual immortality. And then I say, well, let me have a parents program. And then I say, this how you want to make fried chicken, you ain't got to make it that way. I ain't going to take everything, baby, little by little. Because if I come
bit by bit,
the fried chicken and here go a pile of leaves, that ain't going to work, especially with our community, right? So it's compassion. So for me, everybody's assignment, even though it may be what some may consider small and minute, your assignment is relevant. Do what you know in your spirit to do. And uni, as I call God, one of my names, will take care of the rest. Because there's an awakening happening. You just got to look around. Oh, look at all these people doing that. I'm sorry. You wanted to say something?
I wanted to, yeah, I heard you mention something that's very interesting when you talking about not focusing on what happened, but focusing on what can happen. What can we do?
That's right. That's right. It's only that's the way out of victimhood. I heard Will Smith say, it's not your fault that your father was an alcoholic, but it is damn sure your responsibility that you don't repeat
to make sure.
Wow. Yes.
Thank you.
It's not your fault that you grew up in the foster system, but it's your responsibility to find wholeness and execute healing within your heart and your mind, body, and spirit. And so when we focus on the trauma, we get more
trauma. Exactly.
When we focus on the baby, you know what I say when I walk through my streets, even though people shooting and shit and killing each other. Oh, excuse me, I'm a cuss.
That's okay. Go in.
Excuse me.
Get it on.
We just keep it real. It's called colorful language.
But she's like, anyway, I walk through the streets and I walk by the young men and they don't say nothing. I say, black folks speaking to each other, don't you? We saying, hey, how you doing? And that breaks that tension. Like, is he gonna hurt me? Am I not worthy enough? It lets them know, baby, I love you. I know he put you under the onslaught. The design is to destroy the black man and then take the melanin of the African woman for himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facts. Sister Layla.
Powerful. Mama Yoga. I love it. And I've been raising my hand. I try to be respectful, but I swear it's like
jump in.
It's so much that I've been wanting to say. But number one is accountability.
Yes.
And that's number one. We have to. I heard an echo now. That's not me, is it? Do y'all hear it? Okay. But I'm gonna keep going. But that's the problem that I'm seeing today with the youth. The lack of personal responsibility and taking accountability.
Yeah,
and so
I am. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing
it now too.
Yeah.
But I wasn't hearing it when everybody else was talking.
You have another window open? You don't
I don't have anything else open.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure that
all windows are either closed.
Yeah, all my windows.
Okay.
I closed out all my windows. What about now?
Good. I hear you. You sound good. Go ahead.
I'm good. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of people don't like Dr. Umar Johnson. However, as an educator, I see why Dr. Umar Johnson wanted to start a boarding school, because as an educator, I cannot teach your child for 6 hours a day and expect them to be healed unless it's reinforced and consistent at home.
That's right.
So that's number one. And Mama Yoga, that's what we need to do. We need parenting classes. And even our ancestor, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, said that we should wait to have children till we're at least 30.
Yeah.
30. And I was blessed to have my child at the age of 40. So I'm very thankful, because I know I'm a different mom now at 40 than I would have been at 20.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, that's number one. As the teacher, and this is why next year, family, I'm really torn about my school next year, because I had to deal with a lot of behavior. I'm fighting. And remember, we're at war. So as a teacher, I'm on the front lines every day, because our children, they are who they want. And so every day, family, I see it. So we have to do something to bring the love that, like you were saying, that unity back, to really heal that planet, the planet. We have to restore the family. The family. And me, my son doesn't have a full-time father in the home. And I'm an older, quote unquote, educated woman, and I don't have a husband. So at the end of the day, we're at war, and it starts with our children. And I like what you said, Brother Yah, about it starting in the womb. So number one, we have to go out here and tell our young sisters, wait a minute. We need to be a little bit more responsible and stop having all of these children, because my son needs a father. I cannot raise my son to be a king by myself. So that's
why you
one.
have the village and the council of the elders.
Yes, we have to go back to the laws of Mayat. Our babies today, family, they aren't taught to be righteous. They taught to chase that check and get it by any means necessary. So we have to bring back, number one, it's not okay to kill unless it's self-defense.
Right.
Okay? So we have to go back and instill these principles. I'm raising my son to have character, integrity. I want my son to have morals and values, and that type of man would not desert his children.
Right.
So that's the key right there. And then number two, what Empress was saying about tribing up. Bring it back to the Juneteenth conversation. Remember, the whole United States of America was modeled after us. Where do you think the Confederates and all of that stuff came from? Us. We had nations, confederacies, like you want to call it. So again, that is the solution. No, there's no kumbaya, no one umbrella, no one size fits all. All of our leaders have to come together and unite as one. No matter your religion, your address, if you have natural or straight hair, if you have lashes, if you drive a Benz, it doesn't matter. We have to unite for this one purpose. And the third thing that I want to say is that family. And I'm trying to be careful with my words. But we got to remember at the end of the day, it's a battle for our souls. And I like what the sister, the Empress said, Mama Yoga, about the battle already being won. We already won. So we have to stop with this victim mentality. And that's what Brother Yah has taught me. He's one of my teachers, y'all, my counselor. He's teaching me to change my mindset. But with that being said, family, back to Juneteenth, the American Revolution. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. What was the American Revolution about?
Can we use Google?
Yes, absolutely. What was the American Revolution, family?
The American Revolution was about control. That's what it was about. It was about how the Europeans can control each other to make sure that they built what it was that they thought they wanted.
So I'm gonna drop this jewel real quick, family, because I'm Layla the educator. But I'm gonna drop this jewel real quick, family. Our ancestors were already here.
Yep.
So this whole slave trade narrative, a lot of it is false.
Right.
Where are the slave ships at? Number one. And number two, how did they survive that long? And number three, they didn't have that technology. They didn't have ships, they had boats. But with that being said, family, the whole thing that is going on right now is that our ancestors contracted with these Europeans to establish the 13 colonies.
That's right.
However, they did not maintain enough money. They couldn't pay our ancestors. So what's going on right now? Slavery did not end. All they did was upgrade it.
We still in slavery.
It is a labor dispute.
That's right.
They did not want to pay our ancestors. And unfortunately, what happened? We're paying for it right now.
That's right.
And they would never ever tell you, number one, proclamation. Look, y'all, I took notes. But for those of you that don't know, it's called Proclamation 95. It did not, nothing in that proclamation says anything about freeing a slave.
Right.
But what it does talk about is labor. So this is what the whole thing is about, family. It has nothing to do with your skin color.
Right.
It has nothing to do with your race. So I'm going to say this really, really quickly because I'm on a powerful panel, but I just had to say this real quick. What we have been taught is royally incorrect.
That's right.
We need to say bye-bye.
The miseducation of the Negro.
Yes, family. And I'm sorry. A lot of our schools are ran by people that look like us, but they're our enemy because they're trying to perpetuate the status quo. Okay? They don't really want liberation. They just want a better seat at the table. Okay? So don't be confused about who the real leaders are. And you can tell The ones that want the status quo, they ain't for us. So I'm gonna say this, family. You can't let a slave know what slavery was all about. Then that person will realize that he and she may still be a slave now.
Right.
This is just high-tech slavery. You remember?
And like
You
Mama Yoga said, we were not slaves. We're prisoners of war.
That's
We
right.
don't
That's
know
right.
who our real enemy is, family.
That's right.
That's why we need to teach our own babies. Period.
So I have one
Remove
question.
some
That was
screen.
powerful. Let me
Stop
acknowledge what you said. Powerful, powerful. But I have one
Mhm.
question.
Okay.
Uh, Sister Layla Sister Layla, the educator. Where you from, baby? Talking about her.
Ah, I'm from Western Kentucky. My dad is a coal miner. My town has one stoplight, so I'm very country.
That's all right. I appreciate country. I just ain't been to that part of the country. And I'm gonna get my herd too.
I'm sorry. I've been in the city for like since '94, but I still have this country accent.
It's all right. You know, it's very sweet. I'm country too, just northern country.
Okay. I'm going to switch gears here, and I'm hoping Dr. Akmal will be able to come back in this subject here. Is he, Dr. Akmal, are you in?
I can't see myself. Can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well. Yes, just can't see you.
Okay. I don't know what happened to the camera. Let me see if I can switch a couple of things here. But go ahead. I'm listen. Y'all dynamic. You know them queens there. They got it going on, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Woo!
I do.
Brother got to tip his head to y'all sisters.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about energy, and I want to talk about masculine and feminine energy. Okay, I want to go into this subject about women having too much masculine energy and men having too much feminine energy. Somehow it twisted. Me and brother Akmal had a conversation on one of the podcasts that we did. We were talking about estrogen and the testosterone, where we both have both, but women have more estrogen than testosterone, and men have more testosterone than estrogen. Now somehow roles have been switched, maybe dealing with the foods or what's going on, but these are different elements that are describing or gearing towards our demise. This is what's destroying us. So I want to speak on women, since I got women here, and what does that mean, women having too much testosterone? Because what I find is that this society, unlike years ago, you have women that were, and for many reasons, y'all had to, because the brothers ain't around.
He's back.
Yeah, you know, there are certain things that women had to do to continue things to go on. But what I find that women with masculine energy don't want to have kids. Men with feminine energy don't want to have kids. This is directly genocide towards our people. So I want to gear this subject about energy, masculine and feminine energy, and how it's clashing us. It is causing us against ourselves in so many elements, in so many ways, that we are fighting each other. We don't, in a sense, the energy is like yin and yang between a man and a woman. What I found interesting in the relationship, if a woman uses her feminine energy, no matter how masculine that man is, she woos him. She wins him over. Why? Because she's not trying to play her masculine role and jump in his face. So it's almost as though the yin and yang is very important, but yet with this separation that we have going on, we have women carrying a lot of masculine energy. Now we got a lot of men carrying a lot of feminine energy. that is one of the areas that I would like to discuss on how do we heal that, because actually this is one of the things that is killing us as a people.
Show is
I have
quiet.
no
His
experience
soul
on
is
this
quiet.
topic.
Well, again, like I say, it's by design, and it goes back to spirit that the powers that be created those dynamics, and it's multi-complex, and it goes back to the spirit realm, and it also goes back to the food, and that's why I'm into the
Okay.
land and agriculture, and what you put into your mouth becomes part of your spirit, your whole makeup. And I'm not a scientist like Dr. Lacrice Kidd is, but I have studied as well as lived this lifestyle enough to know, just within my own experience, when you eat certain foods and the chemistry mixes in such a way, it brings out different elemental forces that are connected to our spiritual realm. Such as if you put honey into your life, you have more sweetness, you have more Oshun, the feminine energy of the waters, the sweet waters that flows through our vein, and that also connects with our fertility and our ability to conceive. And then you have the other aspect where you bring down Ogun's energy, which is brute force that deals with the tool making of civilization that creates the empires that we have built. So it's the balancing of those energies. It's the yin and the yang. It's the ability to come just like Shango Kabasili that wears the red and the white axe crown, because he's always working to balance those energies within our construct. So it is within, so it is without.
Let
So
me
I believe it goes back to the food as well as our interaction with each other and the way we are taught.
I
And we're not
absolutely
in our original construct.
I absolutely agree with the food. And I remember reading Dr. Pookrum, Jewel Pookrum.
I love that sister.
And she's
The
something else.
reptilian brain
Yeah.
is real.
I remember her. I remember one lecture she gave that talked about the rise of prostate cancer or prostate issues, and the rise of women ovary issues that we're having.
Right.
And so it was said, she was said that men who have prostate problem have issues with women. They're carrying something with women that's causing that, and same vice versa for women. Can we
That's
speak on
right.
that energy that I'm talking about? Who we missing?
Well, we
Go ahead.
listen to Doctor.
Dr. Lacrice.
Crease,
I
yeah.
don't see her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that disappeared. What I'd like to talk about in regards to that is the fact that women have maybe 15% male, and males have 15% women. That's how the balance of the yin yang. When we eat, like you said, foods, when we eat certain foods, that's like if a male eats too much foods that have phytoestrogens. What happens is that it then creates more femininity. Now, in order for a man to do healing work, he has to tap into the feminine side. That's totally different than him having too much yin. Okay. When women too masculine, they tax their liver. Okay. When you tax your liver stores blood. Women have to work with more blood than men, or more body fluids than men. And so when it taxes your liver, it creates that heat. That heat then rises into the head, which now interferes with the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, and the hypothalamus. And so what then begins to happen is that the attitude changes, and that change in the attitude begins to put out other kind of communications that can cause things like fibroids, excessive menstrual bleeding, It can cause breast cancer. Matter of fact, in Chinese medicine, which is basically African medicine, because if
That's
people
right.
understand the fact that the people from East Africa migrated to what we now know as China. Okay, so when we practice Chinese medicine, we're actually practicing the medicine that came from Africa, that was cultivated. That's all it was.
That's right.
So when we look at that, and that energy rises to the head, and it sets off that balance between physicality and spirituality, it does cause women to have those kinds of issues. In my treating over the years, women who have that, what would happen is that we have to now begin to bring in more kidney energy. Kidney energy, the left kidney is water, the right kidney is fire. When we bring in that kidney energy, we're bringing in that energy from our ancestors. Okay, because of the
Ashe.
fact that the kidneys are the foundation of spirit. Because a woman can only get pregnant, in terms of Chinese medicine, she can only get pregnant when her kidneys are balanced, and a male's, he can only provide sperm that creates that when his kidneys are balanced. That lies in your bones, which is your DNA, which comes from your ancestors. So when a woman becomes, from the experience of me treating women and men, but women, because when a woman specifically is not assertive but aggressive, she then begins to put too much yang within herself, so she has too much heat coming from her right kidney. So now she's drained the water. When she drains the water, that's what begins to cause imbalances mentally, even including the factor of after giving birth, okay, postpartum, because of the factor that that child sits in that water and is being built on your kidneys. So once you deliver, there's too much heat in your body now. So now the mind isn't able to function in that manner. In terms of men, we wind up with a lot of anger for whatever reasons. Okay. And so that anger goes into our liver, and it does the same thing. It rises to our head. And when it rises to our head, it takes us off of where we're supposed to be. So now we wind up with more water, which now creates that femininity that a lot of us see. And so, that's the concept of how I've been treating people over the years, who have had too much yang and they should be yin, and too much yin and they should be yang.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Lucretia, you wanted to answer, comment on this.
Oh yeah. Hi Joni Wakefield. She just has this comment, could it be because of dynamics of how kids grow up in single parent homes, watching mothers take on the role of the masculine?
It could be.
And I just wanted to address that, and how I know personally I come from a female dominated family. So it's like at least 3 generations of women who at some point had to be single parents. And, as I reflect back on that, there are just certain things that I wasn't taught, but I was taught how to make do, how to make things happen, how to take care of a home and make sure everyone is clothed, fed, and educated to the max. But then, recently I was watching this live video. She's an entertainer, and she has a real strong social media following. but I was just captivated by this woman because of her feminine energy. And she talked about, like, she was trying to explain how we as women, we need to tap into and express our feminine energy, even down to, if you're at Home Depot and you're walking down the aisle and there's something that you need to get off the shelf that's heavy. Of course, somebody like me, I'm like, man, I'm gonna do this myself. I got this. But what she was trying to explain is that, yeah, maybe you can, you're Miss Independent. Yeah, you can do that. But what you need to do is tap into that feminine energy and say to a man, any man around, like, listen, can I borrow your muscles? But it's just the way she conveyed it, down to the body language and just the way she presented herself. And I'm like, oh man, I need to check myself. I need to, like, start saying, okay, I know, like, within me, like, yeah, I know I can do XYZ, but I need to say, I need somebody to, like, help me out over here.
And a
So
good
it's
example
a
is
lot
that,
of reconditioning that's
that needs to take
really
place.
necessary. A lot of deep reprogramming.
And
If I could just
a
drop
good
this right in
example of that is,
for what she was saying,
mhm,
the thing is that because you're a single mother, that doesn't mean that you become masculine. That means
exactly.
that you taking care of the business that you need to take care of because of the fact that you don't have that other partner there to do that. I mean, that's what I see. Okay. And I grew up in a house that there was time when my father was in, there was time when he wasn't. When he wasn't there, she took care of what she needed to do. When he came home, when he came in, he did what
She
he's supposed to do.
relinquished.
And right, I mean, and so that to me, okay, wouldn't be that you're being masculine. Masculine would mean that you're trying to take on more testosterone than I got. That would be masculine. Okay, in my sight, that's like if I started to feel like I needed to take on more estrogen than you have, then that would mean that I was trying to slide onto the other side.
Well, another good example of that energy, when we take on the role of saying that I'm the mother and father too, a lot of times us sisters, like Laprice was saying, they were raised where they had that three generations of women, and whenever things needed to get done, they took that role on. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen what that does to our sisters.
Mm-hmm.
They are getting a historically high number of hysterectomies, including
Yep.
back surgeries,
Yep.
knee surgeries,
Yep.
because they don't know when to let that go and when to use their feminine energy. And she'll tell you that many of at all my events, I always have a crew of brothers, just like our Roots
Mm-hmm.
101 event that we got coming up on June 19th. I've already called in my young army of men to come and do the heavy lifting. Because me as a sister, I believe that we have to learn when to fold and when to hold our energy and use it in the right way and channel that energy so that we are able to maintain as well as thrive and hold our space. And our energy has to be balanced between the yin and the yang. So what I don't have within, I go without. I call up my brothers and I say, brother, and she'll tell you, they were sitting up here trying to move tables. I'm like, no, sister, brother, come over here, baby. Come over here. I need you to help me and our sisters move this. And they are happy to do that. And we have to understand, we also have to give back the power to the brothers to be able to be brothers and be the
Hey,
men that they can be, the
hey,
brother king men that takes care of the beautiful garden. We
Ashay,
do not have to
Ashay.
break and sweat our pretty little selves, and we could get back in tune with our true femininity and flow like the river, flow like the ocean, flow
Yeah.
like Yemenjah and ride those waves and give out the sweetness and the honey and the healing energies that we truly possess and that is intuitive and our true Ashe.
And we
Before you say something, John,
especially,
one
I
of the
lead by
things,
example,
one,
okay, brother? These
one,
sisters will tell you there's always brothers around helping me out.
one of the things that has to happen as a brother and as an elder is that we have to teach the young brothers
That's right.
how to take care of the sisters.
Hey,
You know, I was
and that's
when I
what I
grew
was
up.
gonna say, brother.
Oh, go ahead, sister.
let
When
him
I
finish
grew
his
up,
That's
part.
what I was gonna
Yeah.
say
what
because
when I
I'll be
grew up,
45.
okay, when I grew up, I used to go with my father and be around him and his boys. They'd be in the alley talking trash and drinking whatever they were drinking and all of that. But they instilled in me how to be a man and how to be a man around a woman. That's
All
like
right now.
when I date a woman and take a woman out, I have two handkerchiefs. One of the handkerchiefs is for my nose. My father said, "You take one for your nasty nose, and you take one to help her to clean hers if she needs it." You
Oh,
know,
that's so sweet.
you
Yeah,
know, I open the door for you,
I
whether it's
like
in the
that.
car or whether it's in a place where we're going in. You know, and so
Mhm.
as an elder, you know, we have to teach the young brothers this because the
That's
young
right.
brothers don't understand that. We also have to teach these
Mhm.
young brothers to stop showing their ass, and in terms of I don't want to see your drawers.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you know, pull your pants up. That's a slave jail mentality.
Exactly.
Okay, and our young brothers have to move away from that and take care of you sisters because that that is the job that God gave us. We signed that job with our contract when we signed the contract with God. I just wanted to let y'all know that, you know, there are some brothers out there that if the sister's struggling, the brother will say, "Oh, excuse me, sister, let me help you. Let me help you with that so that you can, you know, take care of your
And that's
business."
what I'm talking about
But our
right there.
young
There
but our
are.
young
And I thank
sisters,
you.
we don't know how to be a woman. We
Nope.
don't know our role. What I was trying to say earlier is that I'll be 45 this year. And within the past 2 to 3 years, I finally found my purpose as a woman.
Ashe.
The word woman has womb in it.
No
That's
question.
right.
And
Oludumare is a womb.
for years,
No, I
I
say it.
listened. I
Mm.
listened to them and I
Look at my
let them
shade.
program me. I went to college. I got 2 master's degrees. I wanted a nice fancy job. I wanted stuff. But it took me to almost 45 years to realize that stuff doesn't matter. I missed out on a lot of good men because he didn't have a degree, because he didn't drive a Benz.
Mhm.
Okay? So this is why I'm single today. Because I wasn't a good woman. Because I didn't know how to be one. And this is what we need to tell our young queens. We cannot forget this
Asheo.
independent. I need a king and I want one. And I love the black man. And this is what we need to teach our young sisters.
That's
It's
right.
not about competition. We have to complement. We need each other. And a lot of people don't know that at one time we were androgynous. Okay?
Oludumare
And
means
and
owner of the womb that's androgynous, where the male and female is about the
absolutely.
balance. Mhm.
Absolutely. And so that's what's wrong. We have to find
We've
that
gotten away
balance.
from our
And
past.
I need that masculine energy to balance me right now. Ashe, 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 yo.
Ashe, Ashe, yo. I love my brother.
Mama
I
Yoga,
love my brother King
Mama
Man.
Yoga on the subject of the masculine and feminine energy.
Well, I just kind of wanted to sit back and experience the various perspectives, and point of views about this particular subject. And being somebody who carries, a bit of Oshun energy,
She on my Federfuno shoes.
depending on what day it is.
Exactly. What moment it is. Because I can switch in and out like that at a time. We flow.
Seriously,
My Federfuno shoe, yeah.
There's a I think a misunderstanding of feminine power. When you observe sisters from the continent, directly born African women, they are very, very industrious and very strong and very assertive in their family dynamics. Often people think that even Muslima sisters are subject to docility. But if you get close to the politics of what's happening in those circles, the
All right now.
women carry a lot of ashe.
Ashe.
Their perspective, their viewpoint, their um, their um, their involvement and engagement matters, right? It reminds me of the quote or the phrase in Coming to America, the first one, not the debacle, when Eddie Murphy's character Akeem says to what's that man's name? I can't see his name, but his friend Semi's character.
His
So
boy.
you would share your fortune and your bed with a beautiful fool. You want a woman who is your complementary.
Right.
In
the Christians say equally yoked.
Yeah, in the building that you are seeking to do. And so I think that there's a misunderstanding of feminine power. Now, to that end, to be divinely feminine is to be in a space of a certain vulnerability, right? It's a certain softness and vulnerability that you have to, by your partner's actions and permission, be allowed to freely engage in. And what does that mean, Mama Yoga? You need a man to tell you how to be a woman? No. You need your man to play his part.
Absolutely.
So you can be comfortable enough and letting down that wall of, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. I got to do it. And there's a bitterness and an angry and a hurt, and largely more than any of that, a disappointment that I cannot fully step in to what you say you want, but you're not giving me the complementary male balance that I need in order to release some of this so-called external movement that appears to be masculine, right? So I'm not blaming men. I'm just saying the way to true wealth. I don't know any wealthy people, and I know quite a bit of wealthy people. I'm talking wealthy, not rich. I'm talking about people who made their money, this ancestral money, that are single.
Right.
Wealth is built by families. It's built by two people, if not family. Say you've grown and you find, your partner or whatever and your children, but two people who agree to aim their energies like
that's right. Channel their energy.
Channel their energies. Thank you, Mother. Like a flamethrower towards building.
Ashe.
So in that case, You
Right.
need a man, masculine energy who
Mhm.
is going to do his part and create an environment of trust and of, keeping his word and of doing the
Loyalty.
best that he can
Mhm.
and of loyalty and of care and of doing what he can in order for that feminine energy to let go and release and then come
Mm.
into the vibration that you, as the masculine man, say that you want. That has nothing to do with being subservient. It has nothing
Right.
to
Nope.
do with, somebody putting their foot on your neck and controlling. It has
Right.
nothing to do with any of that. It's a partnership that
Right.
is synonymous and yin and yang and perfect for each other. But
Right.
one doesn't work without the other. Like
Right.
if you want your woman to be feminine in that way that is sensual to you, right? That requires some testosterone. For
Talk
real.
about it, mama.
You're not going to have sexual energy if you don't have testosterone.
Mm,
It's not the estrogen that
mm.
has got you firecracking all over the place. It's the testosterone. Come on here now. This is
You're
grown
talking
folks
about
in
my
the room.
father. And what
This is
this
grown
sister is
folks in
saying
the
is on point. And I will give you a perfect example of that dynamic actually happening in the heavens and coming to earth. My father, Shango Kabasi Kawo, when he ignites and shows his energy force as one of the many manifestations of the Ashe of fire in the thunder that cracks across the sky. And right before that, you see a light, my Fedafun Oya, the breath of air that flames that fire, working in contingency together. When you see the energy of Shango Kabasiti working with Oshun, the sweetness of life coming and uniting with fire, the passion that gives us the ability to thrive and sustain. And no matter what, we're going to go off into victory and claim our path. Because Oshun, with her sweetness, that she brings out Ogun out of the forest, because he is the father and the creator of civilization that gives us the tool, the metals, the gold, the elements in the earth, and brings forth to be able to give us the technology and the ability to build. So when you see those forces coming together in nature and manifest in the Aye, the earth, to be able to sustain us, as well as our ancestors whose shoulders we stand on, that we're able to shoot the arrow like a Chosi into the direction where we never miss our target, and we're able to step back and fetch that what was lost, stand forward in our space, hold the energy, and take that arrow and focus energy, target it, and never miss its point.
Mm.
One
So
of the
Now,
things.
that's
I
what
want
you're
to,
seeing with that feminine, that yin and the yang within our natural elemental forces called the Orishas. That is so beautifully been preserved. And there's a reason why it still exists and is preserved among many, not just ours, many indigenous cultures have preserved and still flourish from their original past, is because it standed the test of time. It's withheld and withstood all the negative energies that try to bring it down. And that's why we're still strong and we are celebrated throughout the world. And I'm not saying to pick that path, but just pick the path of truth. Truth is a thread in a dynamics that exists in no matter what culture, religious, spiritual path you pick. Truth is truth, and it will stand the test of time.
Queen Yoga, you wanted to say something?
yes, dear, I wanted to kind of finish this stream of thought, but Mama caught the wave, honey, and just was on it. So that's all
That's
good.
Shango passion. What
It's
can I
all
tell you?
good. I'm not upset about that. I know him well. Thank you.
I'm sure
What
you
I
do, my
want to say,
sister.
what I want to say is that,
My Fedafun Oshun.
the feminine energy is a lost art form,
That's
and
right.
how to flow with that energy, you know, and how to flow with it in a certain confidence that is not demeaning or doesn't put you in a subservient way, because both dynamics are out of balance, right? The divine masculine is out of balance because we have an overly aggressive patriarchal construct, and the divine feminine is out of balance because there's not the capacity to really bring forth that level of vulnerability and a safe space. I want to hit two more points if you don't mind, right?
Go ahead.
In ancient, you can look across, as my sister said, you can look across cultures, indigenous cultures, be they European or you know, African and you know, native in nature, and find the same symbols. Well, to give you an imagery here, you look at the Osirian goddess imagery of Het Heru, right? She has horns, and she has
The
a
ram.
solar disc in the middle of her horns. That is the sexual energy that that surrounds the sun, known as Heru or Shango,
Asheo, Shango, Kabisi, Kawo,
that
Ra.
you need to manifest in the world. The sexual energy is the same energy that you create your life with. It's the same energy to survive.
That's right.
It's the same energy that you hunt. It's the same energy that you run a business. When you look at all these businessmen specifically, always got some scandal about somebody they got 4, 5, 7 wives and shit and people on the side, because the sexual energy is the same energy that you create in the world with. And so there's
the primordial energy.
It's not a different energy to be successful. It's the same thing. So those horns and that solar disc in the middle represent, that's a, you know, Oshun is femininity. She is the divine feminine. But she
epitome.
Is very passionate about life, because the space to be vulnerable is there. And that's what we're missing. You know, people want, you don't want a beautiful key and fool who can't help you build your dynasty. You want a strong, powerful woman where you can give her space to take off that, you know, the head is for the world, the heart is for the family. The head is for the world, the heart is for the family. Y'all ain't hear me.
Asheo.
Yes, sir.
Ashe, my sister, I heard you well.
Ashe, Mama Yoga.
I wanna address something you said that's very interesting. You said that not blaming the men.
No.
Let me be the one to say, no, I'm going to blame the men. And here's why.
You have to blame the women.
Huh?
You have to blame the women too, because we are the creator of your men that rocks the cradle.
No. First, hear me out. The reason why I say it, and I say it often, I blame the men for the condition that we are in. Here's why. Okay. Now, when you have an absent man in the family, first of all, the boy doesn't know how to be a man, so he'll grow up maybe mistreating women. Secondly, the woman doesn't know how to choose a man if she doesn't have a father.
And that's why I say I don't blame you.
There's a saying that goes, there is no such thing as a no good woman. For every no good woman was made no good by a no good man, even if it was the father. Because the first man in the woman's life is the father. And if he's absent, they play a role, right? The first man in the boy's life is the father. And that plays a role, and that's the structure of the family. That is the glue that actually holds the family together, that the man plays to protect the family. But also, even in the Salads, in one of the chapters that I'm writing about is my father, he didn't speak much. But what I learned later about him was his image, the way he treated my mother, the way he took care of the family. And one thing I always say is that some people say, when you hear people say the man is the head of the household, no, the woman is the head of the household.
No question. No question.
My husband used to have a saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna be happy.
From nurturing, my father just played the role of bringing home the resources. My mother's the one that put those resources at hand.
To good use.
Right? To good use. So absent the father, the boys doesn't know how to be a man. He doesn't see how his father treated his woman. So when he grows up, he'll mistreat women easily.
By example.
Same for a woman that does. I find that women who have problems choosing the right man, those women lacking a father male figure, because that's where it comes from. How would she know how to choose a man if she didn't have a father? Because the first love of the young girl, it should be the love of a father first.
That's right.
So in a sense,
it is important.
as again, the man's at fault for being absent, not being in his daughter's life. I think that's very, very important. I raised my daughter because her mother had substance abuse issues. When I got her when she was 3 years old, I noticed that every girlfriend or girl that she brought over to the house was like, "You got a daddy? That's your father?" They didn't have a father in the home. And now they grew up, and when you look at them now, every one of them didn't know how to choose the right man. All in certain kind of conditions that were absent that father was extremely important, that would have helped them the journey in their life, because they were lacking the understanding of how to choose a man. They chose the man based on how he looked or based on the kind of car he was driving, and easily gave up her own body for the sake of those things. Where if the man was present, she would have not have missed the attention of a boy, because the father would have gave her that attention that she needed. And I think that's very, very important.
If I can get into
it is, and I have to agree with you on that.
Into this, first off, we gotta go back to history. The father was taken out of the house by welfare.
By design.
You got to understand that, okay? Because of the fact that your shoes couldn't be under the bed and you get a check too, okay?
That's right.
That was the first thing. The other piece of that is the fact that women have to allow men to teach them children. You know, my first wife, we kind of got divorced because of the fact that we had 2 male children in the house, and she disrespected me when I'm trying to teach them. So that becomes a problem.
Another part.
Okay, because when that happens, what then begins to happen? Now the house gets unruly, because now you got arguments going on because of the fact that here you're trying to teach them how to be a man, because you understand what they need, and here she is trying to stop you from doing that. That's not the way to do that. And you're kind of right that it's a man's fault, but it's our fault because of the fact that we are not teaching. Understand it, we are not teaching young men how to be men. Because if we were teaching young men how to be men, then what would happen is that we wouldn't be seeing this problem. They would be calling you your name, and they wouldn't be calling you a bitch. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they would look at you as a queen, and they wouldn't look at you as somebody that I can say, bing bang, thank you, ma'am, too, because of the fact that they're not being taught. I mean, I have 4 sons, okay, but due to the fact of my first wife, we're distant. So I try to work with them at a distance. But my daughter, me and my daughter had a good relationship until her mother stepped in and really worked that stuff so it didn't happen anymore. So now, it's a thing where I have to look at the fact of that same piece. How do I get my daughter to understand what men should she be dealing with and how to deal with men at the age that she's at, because of the fact that I wasn't there to do my job, because of the fact that me and her mother wasn't available for that. I mean, so when we start looking at it, there's a lot of factors, but one of the factors in today's
Dynamic.
in today's society is that us men have to teach men. I have biological sons, but I have a whole bunch of other sons who will call me and say, "Yo, Baba, listen, can I sit and talk to you?" Baba, 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 because of the fact of that there has not been a man in their life, and so we got to step up to the plate.
You know, one
That
of the
being
sisters
said,
said,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, dear.
I will say this. My parents were married, and I had my father in the home. However, he was abusive to my mother and to me, physically, verbally, emotionally. And so, what did I do?
You
Looking
attract that
for
energy
love in
in the
all the
wrong
wrong
places.
places.
Mhm.
I never set boundaries, wanting to please. So it's not just for the people, the girls, that don't have men at home, but think about the women like me that have
Quality
had the
of
fathers that
home.
are there, but they're
Mhm.
toxic too.
It's the
Yeah.
quality,
Right.
exactly.
Yes, because I
And
have both my parents,
Mm.
you know. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation as well, because it's not just the single parent homes, it's the ones with the fathers that are home in the homes as well.
exactly. And I
So,
have
Yes.
so
to
the bottom line
go ahead.
is for
Mhm.
me, bringing it back to Juneteenth and how do we heal from here. You know, going back to what my dear educator sister Layla, that's your name, baby? Did I say your name right? Layla.
Yes, Queen.
You know, we have to be accountable. You know, it's a lot of trauma out here, and
That's
we
right.
both you know, African American men and African American women, we have both been beat bloody in our consciousness and in our
Yeah.
understanding of family. So it's a lot of trauma. So if the dynamics that are going to work, right? I'm always like, well, what's the solve? How can we, what
What's
is
the
the solution?
solutions?
How can we heal?
Yeah.
What can we do?
Hmm.
The dynamics, you know, as slim as they may appear to be, is you and your partner have to agree to heal your own ish,
Right.
heal
That's
your
it.
own trauma,
Going back to
because
self.
it's not his responsibility to make you
Hmm.
happy. It's
That's
not
right.
her responsibility
No,
to make him happy. It's each of our responsibility
Responsibility.
to work on our triggers
Right.
and our traumas and try to
Right.
come together as whole as possible,
That's right.
focusing our energy in one direction and building a wealth, you know, a wealth of love and of resources and of family dynamics. We all are jacked up,
Mm,
everybody.
mm.
You know, if you in a
I say,
relationship with, you know, somebody who is stopping you from teaching your son, that woman doesn't have the proper respect for you as a man.
Wow.
say,
If
I
you're in
say.
a relationship with a man who, you know, belittles you and doesn't
Right.
see value in what
Right.
you're bringing, that person doesn't respect you.
That's
You know, so it's not, you know, it's not him or her. That's why I hesitate
that's
to
right.
say,
That's why I
I
said
don't
that
want
to
to
you,
blame
John.
our
Hmm.
brothers, right? We
No,
all are jacked up.
we're
You know, this
all got
Western
issues
dynamic has done its job,
by
but
design.
each person is accountable
Right.
right.
for working
From
on
where
their
they at
own
now.
trauma. And if you
Hmm.
can find somebody who is interested in healing their own stuff, you
Yeah.
know how you can tell when you ask a person, so what happened in your last relationship? And if they start talking that it was solely the other person,
Then
they
there's a
haven't
problem.
taken the time
Um,
to
To
assess
understand.
their own contribution to the demise of the union,
Right.
which
That's right.
Well, I
says
always say
that they
alike
are,
energies attract each other,
which
and you
says
have to.
that that
Hmm.
person perhaps is not ready
Ready.
Mhm.
Right.
to elevate and work
Right.
on their own stuff, because that's
Yeah.
the only
Exactly.
way it's going to work.
Right.
Everybody has to be willing to work on their own
To
trauma,
play their
because
part.
we have our traumas. We do.
And that's exactly
right.
right, because you'll
Mhm.
find that in relationships, a lot of times, you know, you will see a woman or a man continue to attract the same type
That's
of
right.
relationship.
That's right.
Exactly.
It is as
That's
though
right.
you know you have an issue with a man or a woman,
Mm-hmm.
whatever issue that is,
Either
you
way.
become so
Mhm.
traumatized that actually your cells are starting to ask for this trauma, and we
Yeah.
don't know it, right?
Hey.
Because it's
Mhm.
been downloaded.
It's a
It's been downloaded
subconscious.
into our membranes, into our cells, and so a lot of times these cells in our body begin to want to feel that abuse again. So it
That's
sends a
right.
signal to the brain to create a scenario that will
Yeah.
bring the abuse. So package that man up, send his ass to the moon. She'll go find another that's going to bring the same problem.
Even
Right?
in
The same
space.
issue.
Oh my
The
God.
same man is gonna beat on her. I said, because why? She's projecting it, because unknowingly
Right.
this is something her own genes or her own cells are asking for. And then the
Mhm.
brain doesn't know any difference of what the subconscious is doing, because it's the unconscious mind, but it actually produces what it's designed or what it wants to have again.
And manifests what's been imposed onto it.
Right.
Right. You
You
know,
know, the
recently,
comfort.
right,
It's,
in sharing the space here, right? After my ex and I broke up, which was a couple of years ago by now, so I think it's 18 months or something. And so I met this other guy, and we went on a date, and immediately after the date, I was like, my root chakra is too low, honey. I can't. This vibration is the same kind of shit. You know, my root chakra is not healed up. So that's okay. Thank you. You lovely. It's fabulous, but mama got work to do.
There you go.
I gotta
And that is the key.
I gotta work on the lower situation and get it vibrating higher, because I'm truly interested. At the time, I was truly interested in a different, you know, did I not learn the lesson? I mean, what's that? What the
Exactly.
heaven? Did I not learn the? I felt like I learned the lesson, but here he come again in a whole different package. So it's like, you know,
And that was the test.
if you're intentional about your life, then you notice those kind of things before you end up in the ditch and trying to dig out the ditch. You know, so it's, you know, all of us are responsible for our own you know, well-being and healing and stuff, and that's why I hesitate to blame anybody, because we all
Exactly.
jacked up.
We all have our issues with our tissues. And my key thing is going back with spirit and going within. In order to find your true path as well as your true mate, you first have to go within and do the healing within. We all got issues. We all got trauma just by the fact that we're here in America and throughout the diaspora, whether we're from Africa or we're even in Africa, they have their issues. They have a serious identity crisis going on right now. That's why they're not holding on to their stuff. And it's being taken and they're being enslaved on their very planet. But the same thing is here. Going within is key. Being able to identify the fact that you even have a problem before you even could bring healing to the picture. We have to take a look at the mirror, and we have to understand that which we are, we attract like minds. The reason why we keep reincarnating, because within the African diaspora, unlike Europeans, when we transition from one door to the next, it's not all over and we just disappear. That's not true. We're pure energy, and as we learn in science, energy cannot be just taken out. It transforms. So we don't learn the lesson. We transform and we reincarnate back into this earth. We come back into the same situations, whether it's broken homes, broken relationships. We're going to get the same situations environmentally constructed by our inner being. So until we take that role and admit that you're an addict, whatever your addiction is, whether it's sex, whether it's food, whether it's bad relations, gossiping, homonging, whatever that is, until we admit that, whatever that ism is, we have to first connect with that and go within.
Let
Can I,
me
can I,
So
can I
I wanna
say,
say-
before you
I'm
get in,
sorry.
John, can I say something?
go ahead.
First off, we got to understand a couple of things, I think. One is that in our contract with God, we wrote those people into the contract so that they can teach us something about ourselves.
Come on
Because
here
it ain't
now.
about the other person, it's
Come
about
on.
ourselves.
Come
Mm.
on.
About you.
That is the factor that when we don't learn stuff, we like that comfort zone. We like to be comfortable.
Mhm.
If he was an asshole, but also, I like that, then I'm gonna find that next person that's like that. I mean, and so we have to evaluate. My piece is that so sister, what's in your head?
Right.
What you're working with,
Right.
because I see on the outside what you're working with on the inside, so that I can establish the fact of, well, do I want to work with that energy that she got, or do I want to pass it up? Because we gotta deal with the relationship of the factor that how many people live inside of you.
Right.
And who are those
Right.
people?
Right.
See, because
Right.
if you understand who them people are that live inside of you, and when I teach that course, I teach it in
Exactly.
this manner. Them people who live inside of you, they deal with your daily life. So every person that you
And your mess.
deal with on a daily basis, there's a different person that interjects with them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Over here you might be pissed off with this person, but over here you like this person, and so this person come out with the pissed off piece, and this person come on, yeah, how you doing? Everything good? Yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, so we gotta deal with that fact of them people inside of you, and when I ask you how many people live inside of you, it could be a whole community that live up in there. You know
It
what
could
I
be all
mean?
your ancestors. All right, you got all those voices whispering in your ears, all those energies. So that is real.
Look,
That
let
is
me,
real. We
let
have
me,
all those agoons going on.
No
That's
question.
your
They
own house
be
party,
they
huh?
be rolling.
this
They be
is
rolling.
this
Now,
is a,
I want to interject something here that is
yes,
probably not popular, but I ain't no stranger to that, right? I want to interject something here.
okay.
Sister said earlier, about Europeans, about we are pure energy. African people are
We are.
pure energy, and we're not like Europeans. We go back to source and all of that. But honestly, the reality of it is that European folk, and we can't answer that question, but I just want to posit
Jeez.
the idea. Everybody at some point has to have a seat at the table. They just do. At
They
some
have to have what?
a seat at the table.
Yes,
Hear
because
me
part of
out.
the
Let me
human
finish. Let me finish
race.
my
Hmm.
stream of thought. Because they must atone for their ancestors'
Mm-hmm.
actions. So just like our ancestors are with us, their
Right.
ancestors are with them.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not our experience to see mummies and people walking and the dead and people eating each other. That's somebody else's experience when they transition because the life they lived was so wicked. Are you with me?
I
Yes.
So
am.
we,
Right on.
everybody, so all these ancestral Europeans that are doing this meditations and yoga and
Yeah.
elevating their spirit and using crystals, they have to address their ancestral line and the trauma and the pillage and the destruction that their ancestral line has
Mm-hmm.
created before they can even begin to approach the table. But
Right.
in the meantime, that's the compassion of the African being. Like
It
at
is.
some point, millennia from now, a clean spirit from that line has to come to the table. But it has to take place nonetheless. Otherwise, there will be a continual, their time is up. It was up with the changing of the of the Aquarian age. I'm just saying, to bring the whole healing round circle, how you gonna heal a black eye if somebody keep punching you in the eye? Right? Everybody at some point
Hmm.
has to heal their ancestral lineage. That's not our work. That's why also, here we go, another unpopular thing. How long is the show, baby? I'm not trying to like, you was doing good, Mama Yoda.
Did you put the timer on?
No.
A good friend of mine, a good friend of mine whose family is the blackest, Africanist, most black power child married somebody else and brought forth a child. You don't know who is owed what in that family's lineage. You can't judge just because of aesthetics. So now that child inherits the other lineage's wealth, which was probably owed to their entire line on the other side. Are y'all with me?
Yes.
But even take it a step further.
People have to pay. Nobody gets away with the hell and mayhem that they have caused. So I help that family see it from that POV. What is the lineage? This is an ancestral thing. Y'all
exactly.
Blue, black, blickety black, black fist, black everything, black, red, black, and green, and this dynamic takes place. This is an ancestral thing. So now that baby is going to inherit all the wealth from that side of the family. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So we all, it's you can't really judge unless you've done the Ifa, the Maduna Tear. Why this is taking place?
Why this child was born?
The aesthetics cannot be
the ruling point.
Because we all have to answer.
So how do we heal our family lineage? Going back to our roots, like our sister said, going back to our ancestral lineage. Ifa is all about our ancestors. All indigenous cultures have that common ground. Not just Ifa, but any indigenous cultures. One of the things you will see, and I've seen it in many different cultures. I've traveled the world, not being from this country, coming from Caribbean parentage, and be clear, when they put us on those ships, they put in the Wolof, the Mandingo, the Asante, the Yoruba, the Ifa, the Ibu. All of those various indigenous tribes were thrown on that ship and taken across the Atlantic Oceans to the Caribbean islands, to Brazil, which is the largest holding ground of our ancestral lineage that is all intertwined. They dropped my mother in Jamaica, I always say. They dropped my father in Cuba. They dropped my grandmother in Trinidad. They dropped my brothers and sisters in America. So who are we hating? We have to understand, we have to go within our own selves and notice within our blood lineage, we have all of those bloodlines flowing richly through our veins, and come to peace with that through the celebration. First and foremost, the acknowledgement that spiritually we are connected as one source, where we call on God in many ways, whether it's Olodumare, Elohim, Jah, Ra, whatever that name is. We are still going up that mountain in our different journeys, in our different ways, but we're all going to the one source if you're truly understanding the cosmic universal metaphysics of the universe and how it works. In addition, understanding that Juneteenth, when we celebrate, I want to tie back in what are one of the things that you asked me to come on to this show is, I want to promote the fact that we're not just talking about this. I live this. This is my life every day. I wake up. I thank the Mother, Father, Divine Creator, and my ancestors by pouring libation and praying. In addition, I work on Iwapale. I'm a priest, but every day I'm reborn into my priesthood and my acknowledgement that I'm always working on Iwapale, which means good character, good values, ethics, that you start with yourself. Because I am not perfect. So I start with myself and then I share that with my community by coming together like we're doing June the 19th, Saturday at Roots 101, 124 on First Avenue, downtown Louisville, this Saturday. I will be doing the opening prayer and libation with our ancestral halter. And one beautiful thing about Roots 101, they have all those beautiful artifacts that Yah has in the background from our Eguns, which are highly elevated ancestors. We will have artifacts that also talk about the great empires, including the Bronze Age, the Benin, as well as the Yoruba and all the other neighboring. Also, we'll be celebrating our food, our culture, and vendors, our marketplace, Oya. Remember, Oya is a feminine energy that also is a balance between the yin and the yang that deals with the wealth of women, thus the village, because the women own the wealth.
Gotcha. Okay,
Can
so
can
let
can
me
can I just
go ahead.
add something, John?
Yeah.
So how do we build? How do we heal our ancestors? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to recognize our ancestors. Okay, and one of the ways that we could do that, I was taught I started Chinese medicine with an elder Chinese person, and when I walked into a space up in the ceiling, up on the wall, they had a shelf where they had an altar. So the first thing that you might want to do is take pictures of your ancestors and put an altar together for them. You might want to put a glass of water. You might want to put some flowers. What that'll do is that'll begin that connection that you're looking for. Then find a time and find some space in your house that you can say that's yours, especially if you live with people. Then find a time daily when you just sit there and don't say anything, don't do anything, pray, whatever your prayers are, just pray, and ask for the guidance from your ancestors. What that will do is that will begin to make that connection whole so that you begin to feel them, because we can feel. I'm also an Ifa priest, and we can feel, okay, our ancestors when they talk to us, and they often talking. Trust me.
That's right. All the time.
Often talking. Some of that time when something say, yeah, go this way. No, I want to go this way. Go this way. No, I want to go this way. That's them talking to you.
That's them.
And so those are some of the things that you might want to do. You might want to pour libation in the morning or when you get ready to do something. Those are the kinds of things that start to connect us to our ancestors. And then you might want to start reading about how to connect to your ancestors, because there's a lot of material out there that will give you information that will allow you to have an understanding. And then you might want to work with a priest, Ifa,
whatever. Doesn't have to be Ifa.
Okay,
Just indigenous.
In fact, it could be a priest that's out of Catholic Church. Wherever. But you might want to start working with a priest that will assist you.
That's a whole nother topic.
Guiding you, whole nother topic. Guiding you so that you have a balance, because that's what our ancestors do for us. They help us to create a balance on earth
and ground us,
so that we can fulfill our contract. Because understand, you wrote that you signed that contract when you decided that them affairs of the bedroom, that you heard that sound going on. You decided that you wanted to come to earth. Yeah, you signed on the dotted line. Now you got to deal with that. In such a way where you got to understand what it is that you come here to accomplish. But
we're giving you tools.
Wait a minute, hold on. Who on here ain't a fan of the bedroom? We need that next discussion. We coming next week, John, to talk about. Wait a minute now. We need Doctor. You're gonna have to mix up some testosterone bushes for us my room now. What is happening?
Look, let me.
Somebody need a hug. Go ahead.
There you go. There's a hug.
All right, let me wind this down because we done went 2 hours and a half, and me and Dr. Akmal knew this.
Oh
was
my
gonna be a
God.
great deal. I definitely appreciate everybody here. We had an awesome, great bill. And those who are listening, please share this content. Give us a thumbs up. And we continue to push this information. One of the things we do here on Esoteric Podcast is that we're going to bring some facts to some things that you're not going to hear in your public schools. You're not going to hear from your white coat doctor. This is kind of what we do is bring some different elements to it. One of the things that I want to kind of close, and I want to give everybody just a snippet. Please don't go too far. We're trying to get this closed down. Give a closing. I want everybody to give a closing. But before we do, I want to make a statement that right now, there is a transferring of wealth happening. And I mean a transferring of wealth.
Yeah.
And during this Corona season, actually, the universe seems to saying, hey, I'm going to give you whatever you wish for.
Right.
And so one of the things I teach is about
That's real.
One of the things I teach is about psychoneuroimmunology, where a thought pattern in your brain, by holding that thought pattern, by the way, there's an electromagnetic wave in the brain that is connected to the electromagnetic wave in the atmosphere.
In the universe.
And when you hold a thought for a period of time, the thought will become a feeling. You hold a feeling for a period of time, and feeling will become an emotion. You hold that emotion for a period of time, that emotion becomes a mood. And what's the difference between a mood and an emotion? You can see a mood, you can't see an emotion. So psychoneuroimmunology deals with having a thought pattern of what you want to create, what it is you want to bring into this existence, into this dimension. When you have a thought, and if you add an elevated emotion to it, that is called a neurotransmitter. That means now the heart and the brain are on the same path.
Connected.
And so the universe is reading frequency. Universe don't read your words. Universe reads the frequency that you put out. You can say all you want, I want a good man, but what is your frequency saying? You can say all you want a good woman. So we're talking about frequency. So one of the things I speak on a lot is about this transferring of energy that is happening right now, and that we can tap into this. One of the things that a lot of people are aware of, a lot of things. And one of the things I say is that there are a lot of people who are aware of how many people died during COVID, how many people who have been killed through black on black crime, how many people that was killed from police violence. And then there's another awareness where people are aware of how many millionaires that was made last year, how many millionaires that are made off Amazon. So the awareness is as far as you can go. And I always say you have to think greater than your environment if you want to change your present situation, right? So pay attention to what you're doing in your life. And if you're not defined by the vision of the future, you are ruled by the memory of your past. And that continues to keep you in.
Talk about it, brother. Talk about it.
So I want to let everybody give a piece of closing out as we end this great, awesome bill on healing our community through the events that we're having. I would like to start with Sister Dr. Lacrease Kids.
Oh, wow. I'm first. Man, this has been an amazing event. I got more out of it than I could have even wrapped my brain around. You know, I think it helped to solidify some things that I've been going through. I would say probably over the past 5 years, and I realized that there were certain people or a type of person that I was attracted to, and I just had to cut myself off from that. And then as we were talking about learning about our ancestors, reconnecting with them, it made me think about all those times that I always felt like, like there was something over here. And I think some of y'all can resonate with that, like something that would like flash across from the side of my eye. And I always felt like, somebody's watching me, and maybe that was my ancestor.
Oh, I know it was.
you
Shay.
know, um, but it's like, giving them permission. I don't know, I'm kind of talking off the cuff here as a result of this conversation, but giving them permission maybe to show themselves. I don't know. So this has been amazing. I do want to extend an invitation to all our viewers to come out to the Shawnee Friends of the Library, Reclaiming Our African Roots. And it will be at Roots 101, the African American Museum, 124 North First Street in Louisville, Kentucky. Come and reconnect.
And by the way, y'all doing a DNA sign up for a DNA testing for your
Yes,
ancestors,
tell us
right?
about that. The
Sure.
DNA.
We have partnered with this company called AfricanAncestry.com. You may have heard of
Yes.
Ancestry.com, but AfricanAncestry.com, it is Black owned. It's co-owned by Dr. Rick Kittles and Dr. Gina Page. They formed a company like about 20 years ago, and they have a genetic database that's enriched for West African ancestry. So they can help you to determine where your lineage goes to Africa, not only down to the country, but also down to the tribe. And anyway, they're working. We're working with them, and they're actually going to give a presentation during our event, which is from 9 to 12. But they're going to give us a special presentation at 11. If you've ever thought about getting your ancestry done, now is the time. We do have a discount code where you can save a little bit of coins. And that code, if you go to AfricanAncestry.com, that code is simply just Shawnee with 2 E's and then 2021.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Brother Akmal.
I'll go last. I'm gonna let the
Okay.
ladies go.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a gentleman.
Queen sister of four, yoga.
Is that me?
Yes, Mama
Yes.
Yoga. Yeah.
He's doing all the ones down here.
You said yoga. Okay, Mama Yoga. All right. So first of
Sama,
all, I want to
Mama
say
Yoga.
thank you so much for having me on. It's just been a pleasure. I'm so thankful that I've got a chance to meet the four of you. Dr. Akmal and I, of course, know each other and have worked together. In the past. So I just feel in the presence of kindred spirits. And so I want to say thank you,
Likewise.
John, y'all, for that. That's awesome. I also want to give a shout out of love and thank you and appreciation to all the people that have viewed and were giving their comments and questions and everything while we're live here. It's wonderful to have the viewing audience with us, and also the many multitudes that will see this session and the rest of esoteric podcast as it goes on in the future. And that's my low battery thing that just popped up. So to wrap it up, we are having the Trenton Juneteenth weekend. We're doing 3 days: this Friday the 18th, Saturday the 19th, and then Sunday the 20th. In Trenton, New Jersey, the whole event is spearheaded by Latarsha Williams Burke, sister who has an organization called the African American Cultural Collaborative of Mercer County, and it is a massive, massive, massive event. We've been planning it for over a year, or at least a little over a year. And we have 3 stages. The legacy stage, which is the youth. We're passing the torch because
That's
we want
right.
young people in Trenton to catch the wave and vibration of cultural activism. Then we have the main stage, which is actually in one of our parks, which has all kinds of jazz and R&B and vendors and all of the accoutrements of popular culture. And then we have the healthy living experience, which brings the cultural community, healing practitioners from the cultural community, everything from crystal practitioners and Reiki, and all kinds of healers are going to be in the healthy living pavilion, with Dr. Akmal as our keynote, sharing with the community how to heal the body after COVID exposure. On Friday, we have our kickoff, and I will be pouring libation and setting the tone for the event, the ancestral welcome for the Trenton Juneteenth weekend, along with many dignitaries. What she's done, Latarsha, and the Cultural Collaborative has brought city, state, and local and cultural civic organizers and communities together, including the Black equestrians and the history of the Black cowboys and cowboy girls. And it's just going to be an awesome event. You can follow me on my Instagram page, Mama Yoga Wellness, for a list of all that's going on. It's like a million flyers. If you're in the Trenton area, you can come through, okay? Mama Yoga Wellness, MAMA Yoga Wellness. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Sister Layla, closing remark. You're mute.
Yes. Really quickly, family. We just got to remember that we are at war and that there are a lot of distractions. And I am not having any Juneteenth events, but I will say that I love that Juneteenth is a little bit more mainstream. However, I will say this.
Yes.
We still need to make this a point to educate. And I would really love to come to the Knowledge Fest to hear Brother Sabir Bey, and of course, Brother John Yah. But y'all two brothers, unfortunately, on Juneteenth, I'm going to be working. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Change Today, Change Tomorrow, but they have made national news. They received a 6-figure reparations check.
Excellent.
Yes. And I'm actually going to be working at they have a business incubator. And John, I want to get your incense in there. But they have about 30 Black products that they sell, and it is at a boutique in the Highlands. It's called Pocket Change. So on June 19th, I'm going to be working at Pocket Change from 2 to 9 p.m. We are located in the Highlands. I would love for you guys to stop by. We're like adjacent to Super Chefs, if you're familiar with the Highlands. But again, family, use this moment to teach our babies the truth. We were not slaves. We were prisoners of war. And as a matter of fact, although the physical chains have been removed, the mental chains of slavery are still here. And those are the worst. We have a lot of healing to do. And I thank you, John, for inviting me on the show. This is an excellent panel. I was a little bit intimidated when I saw the panel. I was like, woo, but I'm just so glad to be around this positive energy. So I thank y'all so much.
Okay. All right, Sister Sango.
As a priest of Shango Kabisikawo, one of the things that I have to share with you, this is not about me, it's not about you. This is about we coming together no matter what our spiritual path. As long as we are that thread that weaves the truth together. And my focus is on traditional indigenous spirituality, whether you're yellow people, the Asiatic, or you're the Native American. And like our sister said earlier, there's the Kemet of the East and there's Kemet of the West. Right there in that Grand Canyon, that's one of the best hidden secrets. Our people were here before Columbus came, and they're evidence of temples, including pyramids, right there, right here in America. And then I want to point out that one of the key aspects with our culture, all humanity has ancestors. So, with that said, a lot of you already know that are from here. Whenever I do my events, Give Global Interventions Ventures in Education is all about sharing the vision and the mission of how to connect and live in harmony with our world. As our sponsor with the Friends of the Shawnee Library and with the event on June the 19th at Roots 101, I will be conducting the opening ceremony of prayers and libation. And as you all well know, I always set up my altar. This one is not going to be as extensive because we have a very narrow time and window in which to do what we need to get done to entertain all the aspects of this event with connecting with our roots. So I will be having a table, which you all know I set up my ancestral table, where I will be conducting the libation in front of that. But I am asking, as always, some of you all have participated in the past. You know, I ask for pictures of your ancestors. If you do not have a picture, no problem. You can write their name down, and then we will put that down on the altar table. And we'll have the major elemental forces, including flowers, candle, and a water, which are the basic tenants when we set up an ancestral table. I will be showing you that. So one of the things that we are seeing is awakening. I've been on this path for many decades. My thing is, we are all on our individual journey. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Don't worry about what Jah is doing. Don't worry about what Mama Yah is doing or Dr. Akmal. They have been on the spiritual path for probably decades as well. We are concerned about our newly arrived ancestors that have come to the door, which is the portal between the heavens and earth of connecting us and strengthening, just like a telephone connection. Sometimes it's weak, sometimes it's strong. Sometimes you have a strong internet connection, sometimes it's fuzzy, sometimes it's broken, and sometimes it's interrupted. We want to be able to reconnect and reunite our people with our true ancestral knowledge of quantum physics, multidimensional realities, having a spiritual reality on this so-called planet solar system called the Milky Way, understanding there's many worlds and top of worlds, but we are focused here on connecting you back with your roots. So come, join us. June 19th, this Saturday. We'll also have African food, Caribbean food, American. It's all the same, soul food. Just not just feed your spirit, but also your physical body. Including our Oya marketplace, we'll have vendors as well as resources and information connecting you with your health, your well-being, as well as your spirit, mind, body, and spirit in a holistic, centered, synergized way.
Okay, brother.
Thank you so much, John, for having us, and the community that has engaged and also given their comments, and each of our panel members who I have learned so much from. Thank you.
Brother Dr. Akmal.
Well, I'd like to first thank these beautiful women for uplifting the world, the spirit, and including myself. And John, I'd like to thank you for, having the compassion to work with me in us doing this. I'd also like to send thanks to the people who are viewing this and the people who will view this in the future, because it wasn't a program that came from just from our heads. It was a program that came from our spirit and came from our ancestors. You know,
Ashe.
a lot of our
Ashe.
ancestors came out and spoke through us over the last 3 hours.
3.
Initially 3 hours.
Look,
And
y'all, I got work to do.
Yeah.
I got to get ready for June 19th.
And
Oh my God.
you don't find programs like that anywhere else in the country, where you start out to say, okay, so we're doing an hour and a half, something like that, and you wind up with 3 hours of excellent content, and content that not only fed the mind but fed the body, the spirit, and it fed us. So I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for the fact that we were able to facilitate, women who could create the balance between us two brothers in our ability to educate, enlighten, and work towards healing the community. And so, as I close, I'd like to just say that, join us in Trenton for Juneteenth on the 19th, where I will be the keynote speaker talking about healing from this energy that we call Corona. And that's exactly what it is. It's energy. And you can heal from it, even if you had it, if you didn't have it, if you've gotten a vaccine and you haven't. And so, when we look at that, we have to look at the fact that we have to move forward healing each other, because that's what it is. You live because I live, and I live because of you, that you live. And if we don't come together, then we don't live. And so I'd like to say that. And I'd like to say this: the desire to heal begins with you loving you. Be well and enjoy your life as you peacefully walk in health.
Ashe. Ashe.
All right, and let me close by I will be speaking at the Knowledge Fest along with Dr. Boyce Watkins, Cyber Bay, Red Pill, Blue Pill, and Ben X will be there speaking. So we're gonna have an awesome. It's gonna be at the Muhammad Ali Center, and I think it starts around 12:30, I believe, somewhere like 11:30 or 12:30. And so it's going to be an awesome. And one of the things I've always bring is the mindset and how we can move forward with understanding this transfer of energy that's right before us. So anyway, I love y'all. Great build. I really appreciate every one of y'all. This is great. So until next time, I hope y'all continue in peace and journey. And I would love to be wherever y'all are doing y'all thing. I just can't be everywhere at once,
And we have 2 events we're going to be at that day.
Our event is both online and in person, so you can catch the replay.
Gotcha.
Excellent.
Listen,
and tell them about our event we're going to be at simultaneously also on 4th Street Live with the Millionaires. And that's going to be a marketplace of vendors with our cultural entertainment, drumming, music, some of my wonderful artists that I have been able to be blessed to have perform at our events, including Miss Marjorie. She's a beautiful songbird. We'll be opening up with a skit, an act based on our ancestors' rich culture, including a plethora of vendors, including clothing to food and entertainment.
Okay. So anyway, look, Appreciate everyone, and we have to do this again, right?
No question. No
Okay.
question. And a big hug to all of you.
I look forward.
Yeah.
Peace and love.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Love you all. Much abundance, prosperity.